The elevator doors slide open with a soft ding, but it might as well be the wail of a funeral bell. I step out into the polished glass and chrome corridors of Draven Biotech like a condemned man returning to his cell. Everything feels louder. The scuff of my shoes against the marbled tile, the low murmur of voices that are coming from the bullpen, the sterile hum of the fluorescent lights overhead. I walk through it all like a ghost, untouchable, unreadable, and vibrating with the kind of barely contained energy that makes grown men flinch and interns sprint for cover. Griffin is already waiting by my office door, his tablet in hand, and a coffee cup hovering midair like he doesn't dare hand it to me just yet. He studies me for half a second, just long enough to clock the storm gathering behind my eyes, then wisely says nothing. But that doesn't mean I'm off the hook. "You didn't go in," he says eventually, his matter-of-fact tone grating on my last nerve, as he trails behind me into my office like a well-dressed shadow. I change my mind. I bite out as I cross the room and toss my jacket onto the leather armchair like it personally offended me. He sets the coffee on the edge of my desk and taps at his tablet with methodical, irritating calm. For a man with centuries of calculated precision, you've been making a lot of emotionally driven detours lately. I said I changed my mind, I say, very slowly, hoping he catches on to the fact that I'm 0.5 seconds away from eviscerating his insolent ass. "Right," he says mildly, drawing out the word, "and the sky's green, and you have no emotional attachment to the woman who's currently driving you to commit passive acts of career sabotage without her even knowing it." I glare at him, full force, the kind of look that used to send military generals and ancient council members into stammering fits. But Griffin doesn't blink, and neither does he shut the fuck up. "You didn't go in," he repeats, his voice quieter now but sharper. "Why?" "Because she didn't even know I was there. And maybe it was easier that way. Because I don't think I deserve to see her." I say none of that, though, as I drop into my chair and rake a hand through my hair instead. Griffin places a file he's seemingly pulled out of thin air on my desk like he's offering me a peace treaty. "Your 3 o'clock is waiting. The rest of the team is, let's say, alert." "Cancel it," I mutter, my eyes staring off into nothingness. "You already canceled most of this morning's slate. If you skip this one, they'll assume a pod person has replaced you," he says as if he's the boss. "And I'm the employee. Then let them. Maybe the pod person will be better at pretending to give a damn." Why do I sound like a whiny toddler? He pauses. Then, in the driest tone known to man, says, "Should I cancel the charity gala this weekend too, or will you be taking Miss Blake as your date?" My head snaps up in his direction, and my voice comes out like a warning growl. "Don't." Griffin only raises a brow, then turns to leave, sarcastically adding, "Noted, I'll be sure to only mention her every third day instead of every second." The door shuts with a soft click behind him, and all I have left in me is to lean forward with my elbows on the desk and my hands steepled in front of my mouth as I stare at the wall. I made it all the way there, and still didn't reach out to her. She never even knew I was there. And that might be the cruelest thing I've done to myself in centuries. The penthouse is cold when I return home several hours later. Not physically, at least, because the apartment temperature is perfectly regulated by the central air system. The fireplace crackles at the touch of a button, and the lights respond with obedient warmth at my presence. But it's cold, the kind of cold that sinks into your ribs and gnaws at your marrow. I toss my keys on the kitchen island where they clatter too loudly, echoing around the vast open-plan space. This place used to be my sanctuary. Now, though, it's just a space, a luxurious, cold, hollow space. She's never been here, I know that. But her not being here, never having been here, feels like a bruise I keep pressing against just so I can feel something. I pour myself a drink that could fund someone's rent for a year, but that I don't really want, and sink into a couch that suddenly feels too wide, too cold, and too untouched. I sit here, a king in his silent castle, wondering when the hell I started hating my own throne, while waiting for the appearance of a ghost I made up. Worst of all, I hate that I miss someone who's never touched these walls, but still lives in every room. I thought coming home would help, that if I returned to my regular routines, it might scrape her out of my thoughts like rust from a blade. But it's even worse now, because now the absence around me has a shape that reminds me of her curves, a weight that reminds me of how I carried her from the car on Sunday night, and it has her name carved into the silence that pulses through the room. I down the rest of my tasteless drink and push the glass aside, not trusting myself to pour another, and watch as the city glows outside my windows, unmoved, unchanged, and uncaring of the turmoil brewing inside the confines of its glass panes. I sit there long after the lights flicker off on the neighboring buildings, and the darkness of night has started pressing in on me like an unwanted guest. And for the second night in a row, I sleep fuck all. Because somewhere out there, Harley Blake is still not in my arms, and that's a problem I no longer know how to live with. It's Wednesday missing, and I've overslept, not by 10 minutes and not by a polite half hour. No, I overslept by 90 full, unapologetic, universe-flipping minutes. My alarm blares incessantly like it's trying to resuscitate a corpse, so I slap it off with all the rage of a woman scorned, and then I just lie there, staring at the ceiling like it holds the answers to life, love, and why the fuck Thane Draven keeps hijacking my dreams like some brooding fever ghost. Eventually, I roll out of bed, but I make no effort to fix the chaos that's Harley Blake. I don't throw on makeup, I don't bother with breakfast, and I don't even try to make up for time lost. Because honestly, what's the point? I pull on a shirt that probably belonged to an old ex of mine at some point, leggings that may or may not be inside out, and a hoodie that reads emotionally unavailable, please wait. And then I open my front door to a fucking flat tire. I stare at it for a full minute, sipping the leftover cold coffee I brewed yesterday. Then I calmly walk back inside, toss my car keys into the bowl beside the door, and march to the bus stop like the stubborn, sleep-deprived bookstore goblin I am. By the time I stumble into the store 30 minutes later, Gemma is already behind the counter, doling out side eyes and sass like it's her day job. "You look like you lost a fight with a raccoon in a thrift store dumpster," she says without even glancing up. "That raccoon would have tapped out," I mutter, throwing my bag under the counter without any finesse. Gemma takes one look at me and sets down the box of various sized envelopes she was restocking. "You look like you need either a shot of espresso or a priest, possibly both." I need everyone to stop breathing near me and for my tire to unflatten itself through sheer force of will, I grumble. She hands me a cup of coffee that I didn't ask for and definitely don't deserve. It's hot, extra strong, and for once, she doesn't press me on what fuckery is happening in my life right now. But then, "So I got into a Facebook war last night," she announces, like she's reporting the weather. I groan, already sensing the inevitable migraine. "Gemma, no, you're going to love this." This absolute heathen of a woman from the Romance Readers of Rosewood group tried to claim that Love in the Vineyard was a better enemies to lovers book than Whiskey and Warnings. "Can you believe the audacity?" she says, sounding genuinely offended. I blink, then ask, "Gemma, you threatened to ban her from the store for having incorrect opinions again, didn't you?" "No," she says too quickly, effectively snitching on herself. "I told her she could come in and see our display of superior taste, possibly while being escorted by security." I rub at my temples and gripe, "So help me, if this starts another comment thread with 300 gifs and a librarian turf war, I'm faking my own death." Gemma smirks, then adds, "Too late. I already photoshopped your obituary for dramatic effect." By lunchtime, I'm spiraling hard. I've spilled coffee on a customer's tote bag, mispriced an entire batch of bookmarks, and tried to restock a display that didn't need restocking. I also walked into the end cap shelf twice and am now sporting a lovely bruise on my upper thigh, and everything smells like vanilla candles and failure around me. Also, I'm not thinking about him, not about his eyes or how he looked at me like I was a secret worth keeping, and most definitely not about how his hands felt or how his voice sounded after midnight on Sunday, right before he kissed me senseless. My phone buzzes, an email, not a message from him, because, of course, it isn't. I open my messages anyway, There's still no mobile number saved under Thane, Doom Daddy, because I still haven't worked up the guts to call his office to ask to speak to the CEO like a woman who hasn't completely lost her mind. I lock the screen and shove my phone in the drawer, and it squeaks when it closes, like even the furniture dares to judge me. Gemma leans around the corner. You look like you're waiting for a sign from the universe. Unless it's holding coffee and a sedative, it can fuck right off, I mutter. Without another word, she disappears again, humming the Rocky theme song, and leaving me to wallow in my self-dug pit of despair. The rest of the day goes downhill in small, stupid ways. A new shipment of books is missing an entire box of about 50 books. A teenager tries to return a smutty romance claiming his mom thought it was a devotional, and a regular comes in and innocently asks, "Rough week, Harley? You look like feelings have hit you." I very nearly staple my own forehead each time. By closing time, I look like someone who's just emerged from emotional purgatory. I grab my hoodie, bag, and questionable dignity and head for the door. "You sure you're okay?" Gemma asks seriously, not even pretending to hide her concern anymore. "Totally," I lie. "I'm just going to head home and scream into a pillow for a bit." She tosses me a donut from the backroom stash as I pass her, and I catch it one-handed. A feat in and of itself, really. "Yell into that instead," she says, giving me a tender smile. I offer her a tired smile of my own. "Thanks." Then I step out into the cool night air to walk home, in an attempt to find some semblance of peace, while I also hope that tomorrow, maybe, the universe won't be such a vindictive little bitch. But knowing my luck, it most likely will be. I arrive home 20 minutes later, and my key sticks in the lock. Like everything else today, it resists me out of pure spite. After a few jiggles of the key, I'm finally able to shove the door open, and for a split second, I swear I expect someone to be there, tall, broody, and ridiculously overdressed for a Wednesday. But the hallway's empty. It's just me and my overactive, masochistic memories. Yay! The first thing I notice when I wake up on Wednesday morning is that the air around me tastes wrong. There's no warmth lingering on the mattress beside me, no soft breath hitting my collarbone, no scent of wild jasmine and sharp sarcasm that's hovering between the threads of the sheets. Just a sterile silence that's too clean and untouched, like the bed has never known life, let alone the kind that laughed against my chest and whispered in her sleep. I sit up slowly, my body moving as if it had forgotten how. The sun that's bleeding through the tall glass windows is too bright. It burns instead of warming as it should. I don't bother checking the time because it doesn't matter. I shower without registering the temperature of the water or the smell of my shower gel. I dress via muscle memory. A black shirt, a pair of black slacks, and a black watch. It feels like putting on armor, but not the kind that protects, the type that buries. As I head toward the elevator, I pause at the door, just for a second. Something inside me wants to turn back, as if I forgot something important or left something unfinished. But there's nothing here, just echoes and expensive silence. So I walk out. By mid-morning, I'm ready to raze this building to the ground. I sit at my desk with a thick report in front of me, something about patent renewals and licensing agreements. But the words blur and nothing sticks. I read the same line 4 times before it dawns on me that I hadn't absorbed a single syllable. Griffin walks in with a manila folder clasped in his one hand, his company tablet in the other, and states, "Financial projections from the biotech division." "Leave it," I say without even bothering to look up. He lingers, though, and I'm forced to ask, "Was there more?" in a tone that's clipped and already fraying at the edges. He clears his throat before adding, "Only that you asked to sign off on these today. The board's waiting on them." I look up slowly and menacingly, slowing my words down, then let them wait. Griffin gives a short nod, but there's a tightness in his jaw. He doesn't push the matter further. He never does. He just turns to leave without saying what's clearly on his mind. When the door shuts behind him, I drop my pen unceremoniously, and it clatters against the polished desktop with a finality that makes even me flinch. Everything feels fucking loud. My pulse, the ticking clock across the room, the scraping silence inside my skull. I press my palms to the desk and force myself to breathe. In, out, again, and again. It doesn't help in the slightest. So I grab my phone and call the one person I really shouldn't. Holland, a gruff voice answers. I want access to the traffic cams on the corner of Green and Wellington, I order. I don't have time for pleasantries when it comes to this. There's a brief pause before he says, That's not one of our surveillance zones, sir. It is now, I say with finality. Send the live feed to my office monitor. You have 5 minutes. Sir, if I may, he starts hesitantly. I cut him off before he's able to waste any more of my time. You may not. Just do it, Holland. Or would you like me to find myself a new cybersecurity specialist? I hang up without giving him a chance to answer me, my hand trembling slightly as I set the phone down. Whether it's from adrenaline or barely contained restraint, I'm not sure. We both know I'll never fire him. He's come through for me too many times in the past. That, though, doesn't mean I'm not above flaying his ass if he doesn't do as I say. 4 minutes and 30 seconds later, one of the monitors on the wall across from my desk flickers on with grainy footage from 3 angles, a view of the bookstore's entrance as the awning above the door flaps slightly in the wind. Then I watch, and I wait. Around noon, she finally appears on the screen like a specter. She steps out to sweep something off the front step and the sidewalk directly in front of the store. Her hair is half up, half wild, and completely perfect, like she didn't have the time or inclination to do it properly this morning. She looks tired. No, not tired, worn out. Like the world has asked too much of her again, but she gave it anyway, because that's who she is down to her core. She brushes a loose curl from her face and mutters something to someone inside the store, a grin tipping the corners of her mouth. There's no sound to the feed, but I can imagine the words. They're probably something biting and sarcastic, and most definitely something that made the other person laugh. Something I miss so goddamn much it leaves claw marks across my ribs. Then the feed glitches, and she's gone from sight again. I sit there long after she's disappeared, just staring at the empty sidewalk and the closed front door, at the shadow of her that lingers in my mind's eye. And I hate myself. Because I could have gone inside yesterday and I could have said something to her. Anything. But I didn't. Because I was a fucking coward. Because I convinced myself it was the right thing to do. Because I believed that she needed space. And because I needed my usual control. Now all I have is a flickering screen and the ghost of her presence etched into the static. I lean back in my chair with my shoulders slumped, while my throat feels raw and my hands ache with tension I can't bleed off. And all I can think is that I never wanted anyone the way I want her. And I have no goddamn idea what to do about it. There are moments in life where you know unequivocally that you are about to do something that will either earn you eternal gratitude or get you metaphorically or literally disemboweled. This is most certainly one of those moments. The dress box sits before me on my desk, as if it knows the risk of what's to come. It's a sleek black rectangle tied with a broad silver ribbon. Understated, yes, but unmistakably expensive. The kind of packaging that whispers instead of screams at its recipient. She'll notice that, and she'll appreciate that. Probably. Probably doesn't feel like a safe bet when your employer is the Thane Draven, though. He told me, very specifically, that he wasn't going to take Harley to the Draven Biotech Charity Gala this weekend. He said it flatly, like he says everything that involves emotional suppression and poor life choices. It's not the right time. He muttered when I asked him again earlier this morning, like a man planning a war instead of avoiding a woman who clearly makes his ancient undead heart beat again. It'll complicate things. Complicate things, right? Because God forbid the Vampire King deal with something as insignificant as messy human feelings. Gah! I've worked for him for decades. I've seen him wield power like it's an extension of his bones, watched him destroy men with a sentence, and collapse empires with an irritated sigh. But nothing has ever knocked him off kilter like Harley fucking Blake. Her sarcasm, her stubbornness, and her complete lack of awe at his wealth or pedigree. She's chaos in a hoodie, and yet he can't stop looking at her like she hung the damn stars. Which is why, despite everything he said, and the numerous times he said it, I'm doing this anyway. The dress took me 3 hours to pick. Not because I doubted the tailor's taste, but because I wanted it to be just right. It had to be sleek, strong, and slightly rebellious, something that would make her roll her eyes, but still secretly run her fingers over the fabric when no one's watching. Purple, of course, in a classic cut with a sharp neckline and bare shoulders. A dress that'll hug her curves like it was sewn by someone who knew precisely how stubborn women like her carry their armor around their hips. And the heels, black and slightly sparkly, low enough not to piss her off, but high enough that Thane will combust when he sees her in them. I attach a handwritten note, but not from Thane. That would be too much too soon, and he'd murder me twice for even implying it. No, this one's from someone more unexpected, but undoubtedly more appreciated. Enter Mike. I text him first to make sure all my bases are covered, and he doesn't murder me if he finds out I did this without him. I need your help. No, it's not illegal. Yes, it involves Harley. No, I won't explain over text. Please. He calls me immediately, because, of course, he does. What'd the boss do this time? Mike asks instead of a hello, his voice rough with amusement and cigarette smoke. He refused to do something he obviously wants, all because he's afraid he'll feel things, I reply dryly. So I'm interfering, with my innate style and flair. Tell me where and when, he says, already on board. God bless grumpy old men with a soft spot for women who don't flinch at a man like Thane Draven. Once I'm done giving him the details of Saturday night and hang up with a self-satisfied smile on my face, I read the wording on the note a final time. Harley, there's a gala this Saturday evening. I know the guy who should have invited you didn't. He's being a dumbass. Until he comes to his senses, consider this a placeholder. The dress is yours. Wear it or don't. Either way, you're unforgettable. Mike? I place it inside the envelope and seal it before I can second-guess myself. Is this manipulative? Slightly. Is it necessary? Abso-fucking-lutely. Because while Thane broods in his penthouse pretending he doesn't want to burn the city down just to see her again, I can at least nudge the universe toward a reunion it clearly already has planned. I personally walk the package down to the private courier who is waiting in the lobby downstairs. There can't be any email, no phone call, and no paper trail. When the courier takes the box from me and gives me a slight nod of acknowledgement, I pause with my hands still holding onto its side, effectively halting his retreat. Treat it like it's got uranium in it, I tell him sternly. He blinks, confusion rife on his face as he asks, Sir? Because if it doesn't get there in one piece and delivered directly into her hands, the man I work for will rip your spine out through your ears, and that would be his calm response. The scrawny guy swallows hard and nods again, this time with a bit more urgency, while all color drains from his face. I watch him drive off and disappear around the corner, before heading back upstairs with my pulse still too loud in my ears. Thane is going to kill me, or promote me, possibly both in the same meeting. But maybe, just maybe, he'll finally admit to himself that what he truly wants isn't power or distance or control, but what he actually wants is her. And I'm hoping that maybe by sending her that dress, I've just started the avalanche that'll knock some sense into him. Good. By the time the late afternoon sunlight starts streaking across my office floor like golden blades, I've gone through 3 meetings, 2 double espresso shots, and precisely 1 murderous impulse per hour. Griffin hovers near the window, his tablet in hand, and with his eyes flicking between his notes and me like I'm a ticking bomb, which, to be fair, isn't far off today. He clears his throat and starts, the press team's requesting final approval on your keynote speech for the gala this Saturday, and I rescheduled your call with the European division to tomorrow, per your. Griffin, I interrupt him, and his head snaps towards me. His brows lift innocently before he asks, Yes, sir? I lean forward, resting my elbows on my desk and say, You've been watching me like a man waiting for a bear trap to snap shut. He doesn't deny it, only gives me a small, almost imperceptible smile, and then taps something out on his tablet without uttering a word. Anything I should know? I ask, my voice dangerously low as my eyes narrow at him. Griffin shrugs in that maddening way of his before he deadpans. Only that you've spent exactly 13 minutes staring at your phone like it insulted your bloodline. I was thinking, I mutter, sitting back in my chair, lacing my fingers in my lap. Ah, he says mildly. Of course, sir. Pining and brooding do look similar when you're doing them. My jaw ticks before I ask through clenched teeth. Pining? He hums noncommittally and changes the subject before I can respond, or snap the pen in my hand in half. Also, sir, just a reminder that the charity gala guest list is locked in. Would you like me to? Before he can finish whatever question he was about to ask that would inevitably have pissed me off to no end, I bark, no. He pauses, and I swear there's the faintest flicker of something in his expression. Disappointment? Guilt? No problem, sir, he says too lightly, adding fuel to my suspicions. Just a heads up, though, the event's PR team already received your formal RSVP and confirmed you're +1. I sit up straighter. What? Griffin taps on his tablet before he answers as if he's talking about the weather. Odd, isn't it? There must have been a clerical error somewhere. I'm looking into it, though. I narrow my eyes at him and growl. Griffin. He looks up, blinking with false innocence. Yes, sir? But before I can interrogate him further, my phone buzzes next to my laptop, the screen lighting up with a private number I haven't seen in years. My reaction must alert Griffin to the impending doom, so he saunters over and reads the screen too, and the room goes unbearably still around us. Griffin's entire demeanor shifts into something alert and wary, while his spine snaps straight. He knows the number too. Draven, I say as I answer the phone. There's a faint pause before a calm, gravel-edged voice replies, Thane, it's Rask. We need to speak. Rask never calls unless something's gone to hell. What is it? I ask, standing slowly, every muscle in my body going on high alert. You've been mentioned, he says. Your name came up in a threat relayed through our Berlin sources. Not just you, though, but your territory as well. My fingers curl around the edge of my desk, my voice cold as ice as I ask, who? We don't know yet, but the threat was specific. They used your full name, your title, and referenced a shift, he says, my veins turning to boiling lava with his every word. I exhale hard through my nose to find some semblance of calm and control. A shift. Someone's been paying attention, it seems, too much and too close. Rask continues. They also mentioned a woman, a mortal, who's possibly connected to all this. In stark contrast to mere seconds ago, when the temperature of my blood could melt tungsten, it now runs cold instantaneously. There are whispers, he adds. Someone believes you've grown vulnerable, and they intend to use it to their advantage. I pace toward the window, my heart slamming against my ribs in a rhythm I haven't felt in over a century. What does the council want me to do? Stay sharp, Rask says, and above all, do not let your weakness be seen. Then the call cuts off without any further words needing to be said. I stand there, my phone still clasped to my ear, and my heartbeat like thunder in my ears. A weakness. Harley. I turn back to find Griffin watching me from across the room, still and unreadable. Something I should be aware of, he asks. Nothing I can't handle, I say, slowly slipping the phone into my pocket, my mind going a mile a minute. Though, I might need to make some preemptive moves. Griffin nods once, slowly, then after a beat, he says, Sir, if I may? I wave a hand for him to continue and reply, Out with it. He steps closer, looking more serious than I've seen him all day. You've always been a solitary strategist who's brilliant and ruthless, but this past weekend, something changed. I stiffen, afraid of where he's going with this. You still wore the crown, he says as his eyes hold mine, but you looked less alone doing it. I don't reply. Because I can't. Not without saying her name and shattering something inside me. Griffin doesn't push the subject further, though. He just nods once and then turns back to the window, tapping away at his tablet again, as if that brief slip of honesty between us never happened. But it sits with me, and it sinks in. Someone knows, and they're watching. And worst of all, someone out there thinks they can touch what's mine. And if that's true, then a war is coming. And I will burn the fucking world to ashes before I let her bleed because of me. Not 10 minutes later, I'm dialing a number that few people have and know exists. My voice is low and clipped, my tone giving no room for negotiation. When the line connects, put Dimitri on, now. I don't bother pacing, sitting down behind my desk, a mountain in a storm, letting the rage ripple beneath the surface. It'll stay contained and focused until I no longer need it to be. When Dmitri finally answers, his voice crackles through the speaker with the usual detachment of an ancient mercenary. Boss, I want a full sweep of everything. Underground channels, neutral allies, and especially enemy factions. Anyone who's taken an interest in me or what's mine. He pauses for a beat, then says, Understood. Are we expecting trouble? I clench my fist that's not holding my phone to my ear and stare out at the skyline. We're expecting a fucking war if someone doesn't start talking. The Covenant of Shadows didn't name names, because of course they didn't. They're not known for transparency, only for veiled warnings wrapped in civility. All they gave me was a whisper. Some rumor that's slipping through the sewers of the supernatural underground, a growing unrest, someone stirring up shit. But that was all they'd say. Not who was involved, only that if I wanted to keep my throne and my vulnerabilities intact, I needed to tighten my circles. At that thought, my jaw clenches so hard I hear the faint grind of my molars. Harley. This is why I never let anyone close. This is why every connection I make becomes a liability. Because if one shadow is cast in her direction, I'll rip out the entire night sky to find where it came from. My hand twitches toward the phone again, but I hesitate. I want to call her and tell her to lock her doors and stay inside. To never open her goddamn window ever again without me there to check what waits on the other side first. But I don't, because she'll laugh at me, or worse, she'll see how scared I am. She'll see how this fear is nothing like what I've known before. It's not fear of death or defeat. It's fear of losing her before I've even had the right to keep her. I make a conference call to two more of my enforcers, Zarek and Lucia. They're trusted and ruthless, the kind who won't hesitate if whatever this is turns bloody. I give them orders to spread out across the city's supernatural underbelly, every hidden den, black market supplier, and whispered back alley deal. If anyone even breathes my name, I say, I want it recorded, dissected, traced, and the person found. Got it, Lucia replies, her voice already buzzing with excitement. Do you want them alive? Zarek asks. My silence is answer enough for him, which he acknowledges with nothing more than a mere grunt. When I finally hang up, I lean back and exhale through my nose. The tension of the looming situation presses against my chest like a weight that's too large to dislodge. Griffin, who left silently somewhere during my call, walks back in without knocking. Again, either because he has a death wish, or he's the only one who can read me, even when I'm trying not to be read. His brow furrows slightly as he says, Dmitri, Zarek, and Lucia in 1 hour. That's a reunion I don't want an invitation to. I don't answer. He sets a folder on my desk with a practiced flourish that I've come to love and hate, then pauses, as if considering whether to say what's so clearly resting on the edge of his tongue. What? I snap, not in the mood for wordplay, my eyes glued to my phone, as if I can will it to ring with good news about the threat having been eliminated. He just shrugs and says matter-of-factly, You're just tense today, and more than usual. I assume it's not just the spreadsheets? I say nothing again. Then in his maddeningly calm voice, he adds, I had a thought that's purely strategic, of course. If Harley was a security risk, you would have removed her from the board by now. My eyes flick to him like a knife, my voice sharper than a finely honed blade as I say, Don't say her name like that. Like what? He asks all innocently. Like she's a pawn, or a problem. He bows his head slightly in mock apology, but I can see the flicker of satisfaction behind his eyes. He got the reaction he wanted, conniving bastard. Griffin always knows how to push me without being too forceful. He doesn't prod me with questions, but he laces his observations with open ends and lets me walk straight into them. You think this threat is real? He asks me after a moment. If the Covenant deigned by calling, it's real, I say. He nods, then folds his arms, still watching me, and asks earnestly, and what's the next move? I glance at the monitor on the opposite wall, where the bookstore's street cams now feed onto, soundlessly, yet in real time. Holland had them linked to my secure network hours ago. My mouth had said precaution, and my heart had said obsession. I chose to ignore both. Containment, I murmur, my eyes not quite leaving the monitor. Of the threat? Griffin asks. My gaze lingers on the screen, where the blurry form of Harley walks past a display table inside her store. She's carrying a box, then pauses to scold a rowdy kid running around her legs. And even though her face is barely visible, her posture is unmistakable, tired and worn. Of me, I correct him. Griffin's silence stretches out long this time, but then he pushes away from the desk and heads for the door. As he leaves, he glances back once and says cryptically, "You've already lost the battle, you know." "What battle?" I ask, wary of what his reply will be. "The one where you try to convince yourself you don't care about her," he states succinctly, and then he's gone. I, on the other hand, am left staring at the grainy outline of a woman I never meant to fall for, while the edges of my control begin to crack. I pull the camera feed up on my phone and tuck it in my inside jacket pocket as I head out, passing Griffin's desk wordlessly, calling it quits for the day, because someone out there might be coming for her. But I'd rather go to hell myself than let them touch a single hair on her head. The sky is the color of old bruises, smoky purples, moody grays, and that eerie kind of gold that makes the air feel like it's holding its breath. As I step out of my front door, my hoodie sleeves shoved up to my elbows, a crumpled takeout receipt in one hand, and an overfilled trash bag in the other. The lazy early evening breeze carries wet leaves and something burnt from the neighbor's grill, probably an overcooked steak and a broken marriage. As I pull the door shut behind me and turn around, I find a man standing on my landing. Well, technically, he's at the bottom of the landing. He's got a black box in his hand, dressed in a black suit and clean-shaven, way too polished to be delivering something as mundane as mail. "Harley Blake?" he asks politely, but not overly friendly, holding out the box towards me like it might bite him. I narrow my eyes as I look down at him and ask, "That depends. Are you here to serve papers or curses?" He doesn't flinch at my snarky reply, but extends a sleek clipboard and a pen for me to take. "Signature, please. It's mandatory." I eye the box he's still holding onto. There's no postage or branding on the outside. It's wrapped in sleek black matte paper and a silver ribbon that's so iridescent it practically glows. Suspicious much? That's the understatement of the century. Still, I sign for it, because I'm apparently incapable of resisting ominous luxury packaging. The guy nods once, and then vanishes down the sidewalk like he's trained in disappearing acts for a world-renowned magic show in Las Vegas, while I'm left clutching this box of mystery and possible doom. After I've dumped my garbage in the bin in the corner of my yard, I bring it inside like it's radioactive, while muttering the whole way, "If this thing curses me with another emotionally unavailable man, I swear to God." I place it on the kitchen counter and stare at it for a beat. It's heavier than it looks to be from the outside. I open the lid, and the scent hits my senses first: cedar, smoked spice, and something else I can't quite name. Inside, there are layers upon layers of feather-light tissue paper that's precisely folded, and nestled on top of it all, an envelope. Thick, stark white paper with a single letter in elegant handwriting, H. I tear it open slowly, careful not to smudge the ink, and pull the card from inside, reading the words written there reverently. "Harley, there's a gala this Saturday evening. I know the guy who should have invited you didn't. He's being a dumbass. Until he comes to his senses, consider this a placeholder. The dress is yours. Wear it or don't. Either way, you're unforgettable. Mike." I blink, then read it again. And again. The note might read that it's from Mike, but I know Griffin's behind this, that nosy little puppet master. I fold the note like it's holding secrets I'm not ready to decode, and set it aside with a heavy sigh that probably ages me 5 years. I lift the layers of tissue carefully and meticulously, like it might spring to life if I rush the process. Velvet shimmers at me when I get to the bottom, catching the light like it knows how to flirt. I brush the last flap back, and my fingertips graze the buttery soft fabric. It's a deep purple with an off-the-shoulder neckline, a bodice structured enough to command kingdoms, and a slit so high up that it threatens to start wars. It's the kind of dress that makes people stop, turn, and stare. "Of course, it's plum purple," I murmur, like he wants me to look like sin dipped in envy. I hold it up. It's absolutely gorgeous and infuriatingly perfect. Like it knows I'll never be able to wear anything else without thinking of this exact moment. They probably commissioned it with blood money and silent judgment. I grumble at the piece of perfection in my hands. I toss it onto the counter next to the card dramatically, then turn around and walk away towards the living room. I make it 3 steps before I falter, then 2 more before I glance back at it where it's sprawled out, all smug-like. Minutes later, I'm back downstairs after I went and dragged out a hanger from my closet. "You don't own me," I mutter at the dress as I slide it into place. "You're just fabric, really expensive, life-derailing fabric." I hang it on the corner of my bookcase in the living room, making sure there are no wrinkles, and then I pace. The TV hums in the corner of the room from earlier, like it disapproves of my life choices, while my feet leave worn trails across the floorboards around the coffee table. One part of me whispers, "Go, show up, drown the room in plum velvet, and make Thane regret every ounce of his silence." The other part chastises me, "Don't reward his absence with effort." I grab my phone, but then just stare at the screen. I still don't have his number, and I haven't received a message from him. So basically, I still don't have any way to reach him. All this drama, and I can't even ghost him properly, I mutter, tossing the phone down on the couch so vigorously that it bounces twice. I start pacing again as memories hit me like bruises. The way Thane held me at the drive-in, the way he carried me inside like I wasn't heavy and like I mattered, the kiss on the couch before he left Sunday night. If he wanted me there, he'd ask me himself, right? I whisper to no one in particular as my mind reels. Unless he thinks I wouldn't go. Unless he knows I would. Unless I cry out in frustration as I flop down on the couch, staring the dress down like it personally offended me. Eventually, I curl up on the couch with my stained sweatpants and an oversized tee that has at least 2 holes in it. A blanket is thrown over my legs as the TV plays something generic that's not meant to be watched. It's just background noise for the maelstrom in my head. The dress hangs nearby, a velvet ghost watching me unravel, silently judging me. The dress glints in the dim lamplight like it knows something I don't. I mutter as I scowl at it. Smug bastard. I haven't slept. Again. Not because of Thane, or at least not just because of him. It's the fancy invitation, the damn dress that's now hanging like judgment incarnate in the corner of my bedroom, and the way Griffin/Mike's note has made my brain a war zone. One side wants to go, to storm that gala and set the world on fire in deep violet velvet. The other side, which is tired, raw, and defensive, wants to burn it all down, just to prove a point. The night bleeds into morning without ceremony, and I reluctantly get up when the light through the curtains hits a shade of intrusive. My eyes feel gritty, like they've been sanded from the inside with a 40 grit sheet. And for a moment, I just lay there with the blanket twisted around my legs, staring at the ceiling like it owes me life-altering answers. Eventually, I roll out of bed, and my body creaks in protest, but my brain creaks even louder as I ignore the dress like a stop sign and head downstairs to make myself some coffee. But then I remember the flat tire from yesterday with the kind of slow dread that's usually reserved for horror movies. I should have handled it. I didn't. So now I'm walking to work in the same hoodie I wore to bed and jeans that may or may not be clean. My hair is scraped into a ponytail that's hanging on for dear life, and my face is bare. No mascara, no concealer, just vibes and caffeine. The morning air outside is brisk enough to wake me up a little as the leaves crunch underfoot. I pass the same 3 people I always do on this walk. Mr. Halberd with his corgi, the guy who jogs like he's got a vendetta against the pavement, and an elderly woman who always glares at me like I once stole her youth. By the time I reach the bookstore, I'm a touch winded and thoroughly annoyed with myself. I unlock the door, flip the sign to open, and get all the lights going. There's something sacred about this early hush before the customers start filtering in, and I breathe it in, letting the quiet wrap around me like a balm. For a few moments, I'm able to shelve my spiral and just exist. Gemma is off today, so it's just me. I settle myself behind the counter, sipping my lukewarm coffee and pretending not to glance at the front window every 10 minutes, like some forlorn Victorian heroine. I'm halfway through updating the calendar on the computer when the bell above the door jingles. He walks in like he's part of a movie scene, tailored blazer, button-up shirt open at the collar, and that easy kind of charm that makes women in novels drop their groceries. He's tall, but not in a way that looms, with a warm smile, the kind that could disarm a bomb. "Harley?" he asks, his voice smooth with just a hint of mischief. I blink, attempting to find my vocal cords, but eventually say, "That depends on who's asking." He chuckles and steps closer. "Elliot Langston, we scheduled a meeting for today about my book signing next week." Shit. Crap. Fuck. My brain stutters, and my mouth opens and closes like a guppy for a second or two before I eventually get out. "Right. Yes. Totally. I didn't forget at all." He grins like he sees through me, but doesn't mind. "You're not exactly dressed for business warfare, Miss Blake. Long night?" I gesture to my general state, and with mock haughtiness, I say, "I call this look accidental cryptid." Elliot laughs, and it's warm and genuine, then says, "Well, it's working for you." We sit down at the little reading nook by the window, and I pull out my laptop while he flips through one of his own books, the kind of literary fiction that gets rave reviews and quiet nods from college professors. We talk logistics, how many people to expect, where we'll set up the table, and if he should read an excerpt aloud. He's personable, easy to talk to, and surprisingly funny. His stories from past book tours have me laughing out loud, a real laugh, the kind I haven't had in days. But somewhere in the back of my mind, Thane is still there in all his Doom Daddy glory. Elliot makes a joke about accidentally insulting a librarian in Ohio once, and I snort into my coffee. But as I glance at his smile, I can't stop myself from thinking, Thane doesn't smile like that. He doesn't fill space with jokes or small talk. He fills it with silence, intensity, and with his presence, like he doesn't even need to try, like he just is. I shake it off, though, and focus back on our conversation, and luckily, Elliot doesn't seem to notice my occasional drift into mental chaos. He's charming without being pushy, and respectful without being distant. Objectively, he's the dream guy every woman fantasizes about, which is probably why my heart won't shut up about the guy who hasn't texted me, called me, or even apparated in front of me like some dark prince of brooding. By the time we wrap up the meeting, it's late morning, and the sun outside has edged out most of the early morning cloud cover. I walk Elliot to the door, still amused by our last exchange about awkward author autographs, and as we reach the sidewalk, he pauses, then opens his arms in a casual offer. "Hug goodbye?" I hesitate for half a second, then shrug and step into it. He smells like fresh paper and aftershave, and the hug is warm, polite, and just the right amount of lingering. He pulls back, grinning. "If anyone gives you trouble the rest of the day, use that eyebrow thing you do. It's terrifying," he jokes, and I laugh before I can stop myself. The sound escapes spontaneously, and it's light and real, and echoes louder than I expect. And somewhere, unbeknownst to me, on a screen miles away, Thane is watching. The smile fades a little from my face as I watch Elliot walk away down the street. Eventually, I step back inside and close the door behind me, leaning my back against it for a second with the echo of that laugh still clinging to my ribs. Something tells me the day's about to get significantly more complicated. This day begins the same way the last one ended, badly. My phone vibrates with an update from my security team, with another dead end, and no confirmation on who issued the threat or why the Covenant caught wind of it before I did. Every lead is a whisper or a ghost. Every name they feed me burns out before I can reach it. My enforcers are growing restless, and so am I. The office feels like a glass cage today, clear, vast, and suffocating. I constantly pace near the floor-to-ceiling windows, glaring down at the streets below like I can will an answer out of the cracked concrete, blissfully ignoring the reports, spreadsheets, and contracts Griffin keeps piling on my desk. He's standing by the minibar in the corner, pretending to stir his English tea, but he's actually watching me, with that same maddeningly neutral expression he wears whenever he's about to say something I won't like. "You'll crack a molar if you keep grinding your teeth like that, sir," he says casually, sipping at the porcelain teacup like he's having high tea with the King of England. "Should I make you a calming blend with extra sugar?" I don't answer him, but my jaw tightens further. He doesn't stop, though. Of course he doesn't. "You could try breathing. In, out. You know, that thing humans do when they're not planning to snap a desk in half." My hands curl into fists at my sides. I move behind my desk, my fingers itching for something to crush. I can feel the fury simmering under my skin, like fire threatening to lick out through my veins if I don't contain it. The cameras flicker on my monitor at the press of a button. I might have told Griffin I had my tech team loop me into the street footage outside Harley's bookstore. I don't, however, tell him that I have checked it more times than I care to admit, convincing myself it's about her safety and security. Nothing more. It's a blatant lie, but it's a comforting one. Until now, that is. She steps out of the shop, the late morning sunlight catching the haphazard ponytail her hair is wrapped into as she walks some man that's tall, clean-cut, and well-dressed towards the curb. He's laughing, and she's smiling in that way she does when she's trying not to. Then he hugs her, and as he leans back, the guy says something, and she laughs, and it's full-bodied and bright, the kind of laugh she never gave me. There's no awkward hesitation during the hug, just open arms and confident hands, and she lets him. It's then that something inside me snaps. I lunge forward, slamming my hand against the desk with a crack that echoes through the room, causing the Fabergé egg on it to wobble. Griffin jerks his gaze toward the screen where my gaze is pinned, then back to me. Then slowly, he sets his teacup down as if he's about to defuse a bomb. She's allowed to have a life, he starts, carefully neutral. Not with him, I sneer, and the words come out like gravel as I point at the monitor. Griffin's brow arches, and he tries reasoning with me. You don't know him. I don't fucking need to. My chest tightens, and my lungs seize like I can't draw in enough air. I see the man's hand brush her arm as he steps back, but not away from her. I see her tilt her head back and smile at him. I see the curve of her lips that I've been craving like a dying man craves water. Griffin takes a step closer and states, You left her. I whirl on him, my fists clenched and my patience wearing thin. I protected her. You abandoned her. The temperature in the room drops significantly and my vision edges into red. Power thrums beneath my skin, ancient and barely leashed, as papers flutter off the desk and the lights flicker. Griffin holds his ground, though, as he always does when he asks, You think watching her from behind a screen makes it better? I didn't have a choice. You always have a choice. You're just afraid of the one that matters, he says with a calmness that fascinates me, seeing as he's 0.3 seconds away from being decapitated. I grit my teeth so hard I hear something creak. Maybe it's my molars. Maybe it's me. Or maybe it's the foundation of this building under the weight of what I'm trying not to become. He nods toward the monitor and continues unfazed. You want her to be safe. Fine, then stop acting like a ghost in her life. Either show up or let her go. The man walks away down the street, and she watches him go, while still smiling softly, and I'm still burning. Griffin sighs, realizing he's fighting a losing battle with my convoluted reasoning. I'll find out who he is. You'll do more than that, I bark at him. He studies me for a beat, but then asks, What do you want me to do? I stare at the screen and at the woman who haunts every waking thought I have. At the curve of her smile, the light in her eyes, the skin I remember the taste of, and the mouth that kissed me back like she meant it. Nothing, I say finally. Griffin's eyes narrow, and because he knows me so well, he says, You're lying. Of course I am. He nods once, already moving toward the door. I'll let you know what I find. I don't thank him. I can't. As the door clicks shut behind him, I drag my hand through my hair and stare down at my cracked desk, picturing that man's hands on her again, and the warmth of her pressed against someone else, in its shiny, polished surface. I breathe in through my nose, hold it, then let it out. It doesn't help, though. She's mine, even if she doesn't know it yet. The room reeks of sweat, blood, the sour tinge of fear, and the reckoning of consequences. It's soundproofed, sealed off, and lit only by a single overhead bulb that flickers like it's afraid of me. I didn't bring him here because he has answers. I brought him here because I need to bleed out the rage that's curling under my skin before it rots me from the inside. I don't let my head of security handle this one. Not today. Not when I need something or someone to scream. I need this. Not the truth, not even the intel, just the break. The snap of control, the shift of weight, the moment something gives beneath my hands. The man in the chair before me once swore allegiance to me, swore it in blood and ancient vows. He once sat at my table and even took my coin. And still, he sold out my security perimeter last month to an associate with too many shadows on his name and too few answers. We handled that breach swiftly at the time. But I never dealt with this. Until now. The man's tied to the chair, his wrists bloodied from his own useless struggles, slouched forward, and has a split lip and one eye that's swelling shut. His eyes flare when I step into the light, and I can see the moment he realizes this won't be about information. "I didn't sell you out," he rasps as he spits out blood to the side. I crouch low, tilt my head, and let the silence stretch out in the room until it's unbearable. "No, you just sold yourself to someone who thought they could challenge me. You mistook my patience for peace." His bottom lip trembles as he looks down in shame that has come too late. "I didn't know. You knew enough." I slam my fist into the chair next to his head, and the sound echoes like a gunshot, causing his breath to catch. "Who else knows?" I demand. His only answer is to mutter something into his chest that I can't catch. I could compel him. I could dig into his mind like turning the pages of a worn book. But I don't, because this isn't about that. This is about the thrum in my chest that hasn't stopped since I saw her on that screen. So I move again, this time more slowly, and he flinches just as I wanted. My usual interrogator and head of security, Nico, waits outside out of respect, or maybe out of fear, as I bleed my rage from this turncoat's body. Even Griffin hasn't dared wander in. Until now. The door creaks behind me, and Griffin's shoes distinctively click once against the stained concrete. My gaze doesn't leave the barely conscious man in front of me. "You're early," I say, my voice like ice that's cracking. He doesn't respond to my snark, but he does say sarcastically, "Oh goody, I see we've progressed from brooding to bloodletting. That's healthy." I sigh and wipe my knuckles with a towel, as if I can scrub away the internal guilt or the disappointment. But they don't budge. "Do you need something?" I mutter. Griffin's tone is deceptively neutral when he returns to work mode, saying, "You're late for 3 meetings, and the board's already whispering about your moods again." I run a hand down my jaw, exasperated, and step back. "They can whisper louder. I'm busy." "Clearly," he deadpans as he glances at the man still tied to the chair, who's now blinking blood from one eye with a dazed look on his battered and bruised face. Griffin crosses his arms, waits a beat, and then asks, "You ready to stop playing God and maybe act like someone who gives a damn about fixing things?" "No," I answer brusquely as I brush past him and pull out my phone. "Mike, bring the car around." 7 o'clock rolls in like a tipsy ant, loud, unpredictable, and wearing too much perfume. Gemma arrived about 30 minutes ago, carrying a tote bag large enough to moonlight as a toddler's sleeping bag, and started laying out tonight's book club snacks, like we're about to host high tea for the Queen. If the Queen enjoyed boxed wine, off-brand cookies, and literary gossip, that is. I'm standing in the break room, scrubbing the same clean mug for the 3rd time in the sink, when I catch my reflection in the side of the kettle. My under-eye circles are developing their own personalities. Between Thane, the dress, and the fact that I'm now apparently starring in my own rom-com, where the male lead is an emotionally stunted control freak with commitment issues, I'm barely functional. Gemma swings in from the reading room where she's been wrangling folding chairs, her voice already in motion before the door even clicks shut behind her. "You look like a woman one bad plot twist away from snapping." Then, as she thrusts another 2 chairs into my hands like they're the solution to everything, she adds, "Here, channel that inner chaos into something more productive than washing clean mugs." "I'm fine," I mutter as I adjust my grip and follow her back into the reading room. "Uh-huh, and I'm the queen of subtlety. Just go with it. Rearranging furniture is cheaper than therapy and more satisfying than murder," she adds as she unpacks paper plates and napkins. I sigh, but I start shifting the chairs around anyway. By 7:30, the store is alive with the kind of chaos that only comes from passionate readers hopped up on sugar and passive aggression. There are 7 of them tonight, not counting Gemma, who likes stirring shit like it's a sport. They're already deep in an argument about whether the morally gray love interest in the book of the month deserved redemption or should have been left to rot in a conveniently placed narrative pit. He's misunderstood, Carol argues, holding her wine glass like a torch, the ruby liquid spilling over the rim and onto her white cardigan without her noticing. He murdered her dog, Carol, shouts Denise, slightly rising from her seat as she stares Carol down. You can't just sad backstory your way out of canine homicide. Gemma leans toward me, her shoulder bumping mine as she whispers, This is why I come. The books are fine, but the people, 5 stars. I want to laugh. I do. And for a second, I manage it. It bubbles up unexpectedly and sharply, as if my body had forgotten it could still do that without him. But the moment fades as quickly as it came, and I'm back in my head, wondering if Thane is sitting somewhere right now, completely unbothered. Or worse, bothered but stubborn. Gemma again tries to distract me when she whisper asks, Was it Martha who brought that cheap boxed rosé again? She brought cupcakes, I say, nodding toward the box on the snack table. Without finesse, Gemma swings her head in that direction, asking, Are they the good kind? Their frosting's thicker than my trust issues, I deadpan. My reply makes her eye me before she comments, You say that like you've been wronged. I smile slightly and shrug nonchalantly, replying, Just my usual personality. By 8:30, the club has devolved into a collective therapy session, fueled by red wine and rage. I mostly hover in the background, refill glasses, chuckle at their bickering, and watch the way these women tear each other's opinions apart like wolves, but with affection. I also nod through multiple conspiracy theories about plot holes and publishing industry corruption, and smile like I don't feel like I'm unraveling cell by cell. This store may be a mess, and my life may be a raging dumpster fire, but book club night? It's a reminder that some things still feel like community. Still, when they finally leave a little after 9, I'm drained. Gemma gives me a look as she's collapsing the folding chairs and propping them against the wall, then asks, You sure you're okay locking up by yourself tonight? You look like you might walk straight into a storm drain and call it a day. I'll live, I say, forcing a smile that barely creases my face. A few minutes later, she hugs me, a brief squeeze laced with sharp affection, and promises to text if she remembers any good book puns to cheer me up. I lock the door behind her and stare out at the quiet, dimly lit street for a long moment. Eventually, I finish sweeping up the cupcake crumbs, stack the empty wine cups, and lock the front door behind me with a sigh that escapes my bones. The walk back to my apartment is usually a short one, but tonight it feels way longer. The air is crisp in that early spring way where it can't decide whether it's done punishing you or not. My footsteps echo louder than usual against the pavement, too aware of the silence I'm walking into. I pause outside my townhouse, looking up at the one light still on in my living room window, a square of yellow in a sky that's darkening to midnight blue. Inside, there's a dress hanging in my bedroom like a decision I haven't made and a question I keep postponing, a ghost I invited in with velvet sleeves. The apartment is cold when I step inside, and it's the kind of cold that clings to your skin like bad news. I catch a quick shower, change into another oversized sweatshirt and baggy sweatpants, and throw together something vaguely edible for dinner. I eat on the couch with the TV on low volume, my gaze drifting to my phone more often than not. There's still no text from Thane. Not that I expected one, but still. I'm not sure if I'll be attending the gala, but I do know one thing. If I do go, it won't be for him. It'll be for me, mostly. Probably. When the credits roll about an hour later, I dim the room's lights and the city hums outside as if it doesn't care that I'm heartbroken. Then I feel it all over again. That missing, that ache. And I hate that I still want him to call. It's Friday morning, and I look like something that was dragged through a hedge, insulted by a mirror, and then tossed back into bed. My eyes feel like they're filled with shattered glass. My hair is an abstract sculpture of defiance. And the dress, it's still hanging in front of my closet, like a smug little secret. In a show of half-hearted defiance, I give it the finger before heading downstairs and into the kitchen for coffee that tastes like spite. I haven't slept. Again, that makes what? 4 nights? 5 nights in a row? Not that I'm keeping track. It's just that every cell in my body feels like it's been individually microwaved. I spent most of last night staring at my ceiling, making deals with the universe and then unmaking them just as fast. By this morning, my eyes burn, and my soul feels like it's been sanded down with emotional grade sandpaper. I tell myself it's not about him, or the gala, or the fact that my apartment still echoes a little too loudly every time I come home to it. Nope, it's totally about the tire, which, by the way, I still haven't fixed. The thought of walking to the store again makes my knees file a formal complaint, so I finally give in and decide to call the mechanic Gemma once swore by, saying he's cheap, fast, and doesn't leer too hard if you bend over in front of him. I call him around 9, after standing in my kitchen with a half-made coffee and the kind of self-pitying frown that would put sad indie songs to shame. I meant to do it Wednesday, then again yesterday, but apparently spiraling takes up more mental bandwidth than I thought it would. The guy says he'll be here in 30 minutes, so I quickly head upstairs to toss on whatever passes for human attire, jeans that might have once been fashionable, and a t-shirt with a coffee stain I strategically cover with a cardigan, and head outside. It's already too hot for May. The sun glares down like it's judging me as my car still sits sulking next to the curb, the back tire sagging like it's given up on life. Same tire, same. I crouch down beside it, muttering threats at it under my breath, when I hear a truck that is loud and confident pull up, with the kind of engine rumble that says, "I drink oil and break hearts for fun." I straighten just in time to watch a guy hop out of the driver's seat, the name Miller's Auto Works emblazoned on the side door. He's tall and tanned, has inked forearms and a well-worn tool belt. Basically, he looks like he stepped out of a calendar titled Hot Mechanics Who Absolutely Know What They're Doing. "You Harley?" he asks, flashing me a grin that could probably melt glaciers. "Unless you're here for someone else's bad decisions, yeah." He laughs, his eyes dragging down my frame in a way that somehow manages to be both appreciative and unthreatening. Then he stretches out his hand to shake mine and says, "Name's Dean. I'll have you back on the road in no time. Mind if I take a look?" I lean against the car door with my arms crossed, and in a dry voice, I say, "By all means. The tire has had a rougher week than I have." He crouches beside the car, tossing me a glance over his shoulder, casually saying, "Hard to believe. You don't look like you've had a rough anything." Oh, he's that kind of flirt. The smooth kind. The kind who probably smells like leather, adrenaline, and regret you won't regret until morning. I should shut it down. I really should, but I don't. Because it's Friday, because I haven't heard a damn thing from Thane, and because I'm tired of feeling like a discarded page in someone else's story. So I pivot my body towards his, my shoulder now resting against the side of the car, and ask playfully, "That line work on everyone, or just the ones with flat tires?" Dean chuckles as he works, his muscles shifting under the sleeves of his t-shirt like poetry with calluses. After a beat, he answers, "Only the ones who look like they need a good day." It's low-key intoxicating, the attention, the ease, the simplicity of it all. He talks while he works, tells me about his garage, how business is booming, and how people always assume he doesn't read books just because he works with his hands. I tell him he should come by the store sometime, if only to prove the stereotype wrong. He grins at that and says maybe he will. Dean makes the job look stupidly easy. 15 minutes later, the tire's been replaced, his tools are packed up, and I should say thank you and go back inside. Instead, I linger, and Dean lingers too. "You free this weekend?" he asks, not shy about it. My pulse trips as I answer, "That depends." "On?" he asks, cocking his brow as he slightly grins. "Whether you're asking out of professional obligation or personal interest." He laughs again, and God help me, I smile back. Not the polite bookstore owner smile. An actual startled, maybe the world isn't completely terrible smile. I take the pen he offers so I can sign his job order, but instead I scribble my number onto the corner of it, tear it off, and hand it to him along with the pen. "Tell you what, here's my number if you want to grab coffee sometime. My treat. Consider it a thank you for not making me feel like a damsel in distress and not mansplaining lug nuts." "Harley," he says again, looking at the piece of paper, as if he's trying my name out like it tastes good. "Dean." I grin and add, "Try not to be boring." He laughs before replying, "I wouldn't dream of it." With that, he leaves, and I watch him go. I'm late for work now. By a lot, but I don't care. because for the first time all week, my chest feels lighter and my limbs don't ache with the weight of what ifs. It's only when I get back inside that I realize I'm still smiling. Not because I have feelings for Dean in that way. Not really. But because I can. Because maybe I'm not as invisible as I thought. I wake up already irritated. I've barely slept. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Harley. Not in some fantasy and not even in some memory, but everywhere she's never been but should be. In my kitchen, while we make dinner. On my phone's screen, her video calling me so she can sass me about something stupid. In my bed, after hours of claiming every inch of her body. It's not rational, but then again, I stopped pretending to be rational about her somewhere between Sunday night and the moment I didn't walk inside the bookstore on Tuesday. I pace, I brood, I snarl at anyone who comes within 5 feet of my office. Griffin calls it a personality. I call it survival. The morning bleeds by agonizing minute. And still, I've received nothing useful from my security team. The latest report from them reads like a committee of particularly uninspired sloths wrote it. Still no word on the threat, still tracing whispers, still looking into it. Now, I sit behind my desk, half listening to Griffin rattle off details about tomorrow night's gala I will not be attending, because I'm a stubborn, possessive bastard who pushed her away to protect her, and now I'm watching her slip out of my grasp. The irony is acidic. Boss? Griffin's voice slices through my thoughts. You're not listening. Again. Because it doesn't matter, I snap at him. None of it does if I don't know who's targeting me. He sighs like he's had this conversation too many times. Your paranoia is charming, sir. But maybe, just maybe, it's not about you this time. Maybe someone just hates your decorating taste. I ignore him and his feeble attempts to lighten my somber mood and pull up the camera feed outside her bookstore to distract myself, the same damn street I've been watching for days now, like a quintessential stalker. She's always there by 9 a.m., like clockwork. But today, she isn't. The shop's still closed, and the lights are still off. There's no sign of Harley or the older woman who works for her. My heart doesn't beat often, but right now it thuds, once, sharp and hard. Where is she? I mutter, zooming in, but there's still nothing, no movement, no sign of life. Griffin straightens, sensing the shift in my demeanor, as he too peers at the camera feed, asking, maybe she's late? She's never this late. It's almost 11 a.m. I pull out my phone and call Holland again. I want camera access to the 1300 block between Fir and Oak. Now. You're tapping into residential feeds now? Griffin says as he arches an eyebrow. Even for you, that's a bit dramatic. I'm not asking for a lecture, I say as I hold the phone to my ear, waiting, barely breathing. This time, it takes Holland 90 seconds before my second screen on the far wall flickers to life. And there she is from 3 angles. She's in front of her house, and Harley, my Harley, is standing outside with a stranger, with a man who's crouched beside her car and jacking it up, her flat tire from Wednesday. As he works and she leans against the side of the car, he laughs and she smiles, and the breath I suck in at the sight is cold and jagged, my hands curling into fists that feel as heavy as granite. Griffin props his ass on the corner of my desk, his back to me, looking at the same horror show I am as it unfolds, before saying, "You really need to stop doing this to yourself." I don't answer him because I'm focusing really hard not to break the screen in front of me by launching my crystal paperweight across the room at it. He says something, but I don't catch it. All I can see is her slipping further away. The last time I touched her, she was in my arms while I devoured her. Now she's smiling at the second man in as many days, one who probably uses hair gel unironically and calls women babe in texts. She shouldn't have to fix her own damn tire. Even if I've never done it in my entire life, I should have been the one. I would have tried. I would have Googled it. I would have ruined a $1,000 shirt for her while I got grease on my hands and swore creatively while she made fun of me. Because at least then she'd be laughing at me and not flirting with someone else. Griffin hasn't spoken to me since this morning. He just gives me these looks, like he's got commentary loaded in a chamber, but knows I'm one twitch away from losing it altogether. I slam my drawer harder than necessary and watch a hairline crack spider across the mahogany like it personally betrayed me. I pace in front of the monitors again and again, one of them now frozen on the image of her laughing at another man, even though it replays in my mind with a cruel kind of clarity. That smile wasn't meant for anyone else. Griffin hovers near the door, his arms crossed and his eyes narrowed with that knowing look he's perfected over the last few centuries. "Still watching the cameras?" he asks. I don't answer. I don't need to. He clicks his tongue as if I'm an errand child. You know, if you just talk to her instead of stalking her like a tragic ex, this whole spiral could be. Don't. I cut him off with a glare that's sharp enough to gut someone. Not today. It's always not today. That's the problem. He starts as he steps farther into the room, ignoring my unspoken order to stay out. You're unraveling, Thane. And before you ask, yes, it's obvious. You haven't fed properly in days, your temper's on a hair trigger, and you nearly decapitated Camden for asking if you wanted the lights dimmed during the presentation earlier. I told him not to sneak up on me, I grumble. He cleared his throat, he volleys at me. I turn away from him, grinding the heel of my palm into my eye socket like I can erase the images burned into the backs of them. Harley laughing, Harley blushing, Harley giving some mortal her phone number as if it's harmless. Like she's free. Like she's not mine. The alert comes through just after lunchtime, a message encoded in an old council cipher, a language few remember well, which is probably why they chose it. When I open the file, I feel the air shift around me. My fangs itch, and my shoulders tighten at the name written there. Raven. A name I haven't spoken aloud in decades. A ghost draped in luxurious silk and malicious spite. Griffin catches the shift in my expression from across the room where he sits on my couch, finalizing my keynote speech for tomorrow night that I won't be giving. Who is it? I don't look up as I answer him, someone I buried a long time ago. The report is vague, as council communiques always are. Sightings near our territory, whispers in back alleys overlapping with the same trails we've been chasing since the threat emerged. Nothing definitive, but enough to raise suspicion. She wouldn't, except she might. Once, she was the closest thing I had to an equal. Fierce, beautiful in that lethal, moonlit way only the oldest among us could be. We tore through centuries together, two monsters who thought we understood each other. She wanted power and wanted to rule beside me. But more than that, she wanted permanence. She wanted my mark, to be chosen by me. I remember the way she asked me the first time. No, not asked, demanded, like it was already hers. The marking is sacred and irrevocable. It binds more than just the pair's names. It binds their souls and their fates. She said it didn't matter that I didn't feel it yet, or that maybe I never would. But I always believed in the myth, in the promise of the moon goddess, in the idea of a true, fated mate. I always knew there was something else, someone else coming. Even when it felt childish, even when I'd lived for hundreds of years without so much as a whisper of that kind of connection. And even though I didn't think it would be Harley, or that my fate would arrive wrapped in sarcasm, oversized hoodies, and laughter that feels like salvation, I instinctively knew Raven wasn't what the moon goddess had destined for me. Raven called it weakness, said numerous times that I was hiding behind fairy tales. So I ended it, quietly but decisively. But she didn't take it well. She never took rejection well. There were whispers for a while after that, of allies she'd been collecting, of power trades and silent coups brewing in corners I didn't care to look into. But I let her go nonetheless. And so far, she hasn't breached my territory, nor has she challenged me directly. Until now, it would seem. I stare down at the council's vague warning and feel the bite of old wounds, still sore even after all these centuries. She's a powerful ally, or a dangerous enemy, and if she's tangled up in this, it's no coincidence. I buzz Nico, my head of security. Find Raven, discreetly. I want to know where she's been for the last 12 months, who she's been seen with, and what she wants. Understood, comes his reply, cold yet efficient. I hang up without saying goodbye, and my hands clench around the edge of my desk. I don't want this to be her. I don't want the rage that's boiling deep in my gut to be twisted into something that'll become personal. But if she's part of this, if she's put Harley in any type of danger, then I'll remind her why I'm still king, the kind who carves betrayal from his enemies. bones and sets kingdoms on fire in the name of the woman he can't lose. By the time I get home, nighttime has already draped itself across the city skyline, turning the town into a mixture of fractured glass and sharp shadows. There, on my dining table, sits the invitation I've ignored all week, crisp white with gold calligraphy. Draven Biotech's annual charity gala. I don't want to go. I haven't wanted to show my face at any of my company's events since Sunday night, but the list of attendees reads like a financial who's who of supernatural politics. I can't afford to alienate investors, council dignitaries, potential allies I'll need if this threat turns into a war. People I've put off for days. They'll expect to see me. 30 minutes, I tell myself, just long enough to show my face and keep the vultures from circling. My mind reluctantly made up, I unbutton my sleeves and head towards my personal bathroom, shrugging off the weight of this day one thread at a time. I get into the shower and then stand there as the water rains down on me, thinking about a future I'm not sure I deserve while wearing the crown I no longer know how to carry, and wondering how the hell one mortal woman managed to turn my entire empire into a fault line. I'm halfway through shelving a stack of used thrillers around noon when Gemma walks in the front door like she owns the street and the air around her. There's a coffee in one hand, her sunglasses are still perched on her head despite the overcast skies, and she has that look on her face, the one that says she's in the mood to stir up a little chaos. "Why do you look like someone just handed you the last slice of cake and then insulted your shoes?" she asks dramatically, plopping her bag down on the counter and then leaning against it like it owes her money. "Because life is complicated, Gemma," I mutter, shifting a book titled The Silent Widow to its proper alphabetical home. Then add with a hidden smirk, "and also because I may or may not have gotten hit on this morning by a very attractive man with oil on his hands and bad intentions in his smile." Gemma freezes, her coffee halfway to her mouth, and asks, "Excuse me?" I shrug, trying to look nonchalant but failing miserably as I say, "He was the mechanic who came to fix my tire. He flirted, so I flirted back." "You flirted back?" she asks incredulously, as she sets her coffee down like this is an emergency that requires both hands. "Harley Blake, are you okay? Do I need to check for signs of body snatching? Alien possession, maybe?" I snort very unladylike before saying, "I can flirt, you know, especially when the guy looks like he moonlights as a Calvin Klein model in tight jeans." "I'm not judging," she says, though her grin says otherwise, then adds, "I just didn't think we were there yet. You've been in this mysterious mood all week after your breakup with Steven last week. I figured you were still busy pining over that cum stain." I arch a brow, skipping over the whole Steven comment, and ask, "You think I'm the pining type?" She gives me a long look, then says, all sage-like, "This whole week you look like someone's watching you, and you're trying to make sure they see what they missed. That mechanic hottie just so happened to be in the right place at the right time." My smirk falters, but only slightly, before I say, "You're reading too much into it." Gemma hums as she picks up her coffee again. "Tell me what he looked like, and don't spare me any of the filthy details." I sigh, but it escapes with a chuckle. He's tall, with an impossibly sharp jawline and tattoo sleeves down both arms. Kinda cocky, maybe, but in a way that works. "Dangerous," she nods approvingly. "I like it. Did he give you his number?" she asks as she takes another sip of her coffee. "No," I say, dragging the word out. Gemma, the clever old bat, immediately catches on and asks, "But you gave him yours?" "Correct." She winks, smiling like a proud mama bear as she says, "Even better." Trang. Around 4 p.m., I head to the staff room, which smells like cinnamon tea and ancient receipts today for some obscure reason. I drop into one of the mismatched armchairs we keep near the kettle, my legs curled under me, and balance my phone on my knee. I've been on my feet since I stepped in earlier, and I need just a few minutes to regroup and rest my sore piggies. A buzz suddenly sounds from my phone with a new message that I initially think might be the tracking details for my latest Amazon shipment. But the unknown number that lights up my screen doesn't ring any bells, so I swipe the message open to see who it might be. "Dean, I hope your Friday's been as cute as you look this morning. I'm not usually this smooth, so feel free to pretend I said something cooler. I blink at it, then read it again. And then my stomach does that weird fluttery thing it does when I'm not sure whether to laugh or roll my eyes. Cute. He thinks I looked cute. Even with my messy hair, coffee-stained t-shirt, and threadbare cardigan, he either has questionable standards or a decent imagination. I hover over the reply box, my thumbs poised for a beat before I type, likewise, delete. Then I type again. You say that like you've got a bench full of mechanics rating clients in the break room. Delete. Eventually, I settle on, you've definitely set the bar. Prepare to be aggressively judged if I ever need a spark plug replaced. Send. And then I set the phone down, as if it might combust into flames in the palm of my hand. The truth is, receiving his message feels fine, nice even, but it's not the spark I crave. It's only a flicker, a single match trying to warm a fireplace that remembers a different fire, nay, an inferno, altogether. I don't want to compare him to Thane, I really don't. But my stupid brain does it anyway. Thane wouldn't have texted. He would have shown up while being annoyingly tall, maddeningly calm, dripping with sarcasm, and wrapped in that unnameable thing that makes my spine forget how to hold itself upright. Thane wouldn't flirt, he'd command. And I hate how much I want that. It's past 9 by the time I get home. My townhouse greets me with silence and the hum of the fridge, and the dress still hangs upstairs from my bedroom closet door like a ghost with opinions. I drop my bag on the floor in the entryway, toe off my shoes, and head straight for the kitchen to scour my cupboards. Leftover Thai or peanut butter straight from the jar, I opt for both. Real classy, I know. The couch's leather creaks under me as I flop tomboyishly into it and toss my phone beside me. The TV plays some mindless sitcom rerun with canned laughter, but my brain is too wired to find the jokes funny, let alone laugh about them. Instead, I tell myself that flirting with someone else means I've moved on, that it was just a meaningless weekend with a wounded stranger, that it was just an average kiss, and he was just an ordinary man who pulled me into his gravity and then disappeared without a sound. I almost believe it all. It starts with dread. I wake up late, the kind of late that feels like cheating the sun out of its job. Saturday is supposed to be my day off, but instead of freedom, I'm wrapped in the suffocating cling film of spiraling thoughts and zero motivation. There's no store to open and no chatty customers to distract me, just a whole damn day to marinate in my own uncertainty. I try coffee. It helps for about 3 sips. I try to reorganize my bookshelf. I make it to the T's before realizing I've alphabetized Thoreau and Tolkien under torture self-inflicted. And then my doorbell rings unexpectedly. I peek through the peephole with the caution of someone who's definitely watched too many crime documentaries. And of course, standing on my porch like a walking contradiction, wrapped in bespoke confidence, is Griffin, dressed for brunch with royalty, while holding a pastry box in one hand and a to-go tray with what I hope is coffee in the other. When I crack the door, he brightly says, "You look like a raccoon who lost custody of its trash." Rolling my eyes, I retort, "Good morning to you too, Griffin." Without invitation, he pushes inside and past me, holds the items in the air and says, "I brought sugar and caffeine. Put on respectable pants, we're going out." I blink, my brain struggling to compute his words. Out. I ask eventually. Spa day, my treat. Think of it as emotional damage control. I cross my arms, my brows dipping into a frown as I say, "I didn't ask for emotional damage control." "You didn't have to. You're wearing despair as a second skin," he states, clearly not in the mood to sugarcoat anything today. I open my mouth to protest, but my stomach growls audibly, making him chuckle triumphantly. Damn him. "Fine," I mutter as I walk towards the stairs, "but if there's hot wax involved, I want lunch too." The spa smells like cucumber water and expensive resolutions. I lie on a heated table while a woman named Ivana smears something lavender-scented across my legs and tells me to breathe through the pain. I try and fail dismally. Griffin lounges in the next room, a champagne glass in hand, and wrapped in a thick bathrobe like he owns the place. I can hear his smug laughter every time I yelp. "Remind me again," I hiss after the third strip of wax rips away part of my soul. Why I agreed to this. Griffin's voice floats to me through the thin wall. Because you love me. And deep down, you want to walk into that gala tonight like a goddess forged in glam and vengeance. You mean vengeance forged in patchy legs and mild trauma, I grumble as another wax strip rips the first 4 layers of my skin off. After waxing comes the facials, which involve soul-scorching steam, painful pimple and blackhead extractions, and Griffin gleefully snapping a selfie of my face mid-mask. When he shows it to me, I threaten bodily harm if it ever gets leaked. Later, during massages, we're in side-by-side beds with low meditation music playing overhead. I peek over at him and he's fully asleep, yet I ask softly, "Griffin?" "Hmm?" He answers in a lazy, half-coma voice. "Are you always this extra with your friends?" He turns his head towards me and cracks one eye open as he says, "Only the ones who need it." My self-consciousness rears its ugly head as I ask, "Do I?" His voice and eyes soften somewhat when he playfully says, "You've been living like a feral cat in emotional quarantine, so yes," and it makes me snort. We don't speak again until we're seated next to each other at the hair and makeup station. A stylist is curling my hair while a makeup artist works her magic, all while Griffin watches me through the mirror. "He does care about you, you know," he suddenly says softly. My stomach flips and I ask stupidly, "Who? Thane?" He cocks his one eyebrow before replying, "Who else?" I scoff, then say churlishly, "He has a hell of a way of showing it. He's not used to this, to someone who doesn't play by his rules." I meet his eyes in the mirror, and irritation slips in when I ask, "And that makes me what? A challenge?" Griffin smiles, but there's something behind it, a layer I can't read yet, as he says, "It makes you different and important." He pauses for a beat, then adds, "Thane's been around a long time, long enough to build walls higher than most people can scale." I frown as I say confusedly, "You say that like he's centuries old." Griffin chuckles, but doesn't answer. "Griffin," I press, needing some answers. He shrugs, then says cryptically, "Let's just say he has a very established sense of self." Realizing I'm not going to get much more from him, I pivot and ask, "And you, what's your story?" "I'm the meddlesome newfound best friend who gets you waxed and pretty before the big ball." "Not suspicious at all," I say as another stylist moves closer to start my manicure. He just winks and says, "Suspicion is healthy, especially when you're walking into a room full of monsters." "Excuse me?" I exclaim as my eyebrows shoot towards my hairline. His face suddenly gets flushed, and then he stammers, "I said donors, wealthy donors." I narrow my eyes at him, but then he grins, all charm and evasion, as I say, "You're being weird." "Untrue. I'm always weird. Today I'm being mysterious, which is way more fun," he declares, making me laugh. As the stylist finishes the final curl, he reaches for my hand and says, "Relax. Tonight, you'll be the most captivating thing in that room. And Thane, he won't know what hit him." I look at my reflection, almost not recognizing myself, and yet the pit in my stomach doesn't go away. Yeah. By the end of the day, I'm waxed, buffed, curled, and painted into someone that vaguely resembles me if I existed in a parallel universe with less sarcasm and a significantly higher Sephora budget. Griffin drives me home in a sleek, smug car that will probably judge my Spotify playlists. He opens the door for me like it's second nature to him, and just before I step away from him, he says, "Whatever happens tonight, Harley, you're not alone in this." I don't answer him, not because I don't have the words, but because none of them feel like they'll be enough. So I nod, and for the first time all week, I start to wonder what it would feel like to stop running and just walk straight into the fire. Dress first. The spa day did its job. Or at least that's what I tell myself as I silently stare at my reflection in the cracked edge of the full-length mirror in my room. The kind of silence that hums instead of echoes surrounds me, like the air itself is waiting to see what I'll do next. My hair falls in soft waves and tumbles over one shoulder, nothing like my usual chaos. My skin glows like I've never spent a single day stress-eating cereal straight from the box. My makeup walks that delicious line between bold and overdone. I look like someone else, like someone who belongs at galas. I'm not just ready, I'm daring the night to come at me. And the dress, God, the dress, it fits like it was made for me. Because I suspect it probably was. Griffin didn't say it, but the cut is too exact and the color too specific to be a coincidence. Deep purple that miraculously brings out every shade in my eyes and my hair. The velvet catches the low bedroom light and holds it like a secret. Off-the-shoulder sleeves hug my arms, the bodice pulling me in like a whispered secret, and the slit up the leg shows just enough to make me feel like I have power I didn't ask for. Or maybe I always had it and just forgot about it somewhere along the way. It's the kind of dress that demands to be noticed. It's sin incarnate. My reflection feels like someone else, a version of me who hasn't cried into a pillow this week or yelled at her toaster for being smug. A woman who maybe, just maybe, can walk into a room and not feel like a fracture line. I grab the small black clutch off my dresser and stuff it with the bare essentials: lipstick, ID, phone, and courage. The invitation sits folded in the clutch's pocket, like it will give this night some kind of structure. Then I pace, because pacing is better than overthinking, and I'm already doing both. And my nerves are hanging on by a single fashionable thread. What if he's not even there? What if he is? What if I go and I'm nothing but another passing detail in his glittering, high-powered world? A stray smudge on his otherwise curated life. But what if I don't go and miss the one chance to show him I'm not someone who fades when things get hard? I shake my head and add a final spritz of perfume, something soft and smoky that clings to my skin like armor, before heading downstairs. Halfway to the front door, I remember the ridiculous wax Griffin insisted on adding to the spa package when my bare legs glide against each other as if they're dipped in baby oil. A memory flashes through my mind's eye. Me mid-yelp, him laughing in the background, handing me chocolate like it was a hostage negotiation. I muttered something about bodily betrayal and threatened to haunt him if I died of embarrassment. He, in true Griffin style, didn't flinch. "You'll thank me when you're a glowing, hairless goddess," he had said. I did not thank him, but I did laugh, and it stuck with me longer than it should have. I reach the front door, my heels tapping a slow rhythm on the hardwood floor. I pause with my hand on the doorknob, exhaling. The Uber app is already open on my phone, and my thumb hovers over the button to confirm the ride. But before I can tap it, a knock echoes from the other side of the door that makes me jump. Almost nobody knocks anymore, not unless they want to sell me religion or check the gas meter. I glance through the peephole, and what I see is not a stranger. It's a car, sleek and expensive, the kind of vehicle that smells like new leather and high expectations. Parked right at the curb, black as spilled ink, its engine idling like a satisfied purr. And standing casually next to the open back door, Mike, I exhale like I've been holding my breath all day. And my heart does this stupid little leap because he's familiar and safe. The fatherly driver who somehow feels like a buffer between me and everything spinning too fast. I open my front door with a smile on my face. "Miss Harley," he says with a small smile and a polite nod, "your ride awaits." I blink at him, then at the car, a smile tipping the corners of my mouth as I ask, "Griffin?" His smile widens before he replies. "He thought you might appreciate a more comfortable arrival." Translation: no Ubers for the woman wearing velvet that costs more than my rent. My shoulders drop, just a little, and the knot in my chest loosens. Mike opens the car door even further for me and waits patiently as I gather my composure and step outside. The air is crisp and laced with that pre-evening chill that promises stars and regrets. I pull the coat I grabbed at the last minute tighter around me, but when I glance at Mike again, something about his steady presence anchors me. "Thanks," I murmur as I near where he waits for me, and it comes out softer than I intend. He nods once, then says, "You look lovely, miss." Rolling my eyes, I say, "Don't lie. I almost got my eye poked out with eyeliner by the stylist." "I've seen worse," he says dryly. That makes me laugh, and it's real this time. No sarcasm or edge, just something simple and human. As I slide into the car, sinking into the impossibly plush seats, I glance back at my apartment one last time. "I don't suppose the car has snacks?" I ask, only half joking. Mike snorts. "I was instructed to offer you a chocolate truffle. One, singular, but I won't tell if you eat two." I knew I liked you for a reason. He chuckles as he closes the door behind me, and the vehicle pulls away from the curb like something out of a dream. I stare out the tinted window, the city sliding past in golden streaks and traffic light halos. Somewhere between my home and wherever we're going, I let myself breathe. Really breathe. And not for the first time, I wonder how Griffin became the fairy godmother I never asked for but might desperately need. I'm not sure what awaits me tonight, but I know I'm not running from it. I'm walking straight into the fire, dressed in purple velvet, long-stay lipstick, and borrowed bravery. And maybe, just maybe, with Mike behind the wheel and Griffin pulling invisible strings, I won't burn alone. I stare at the city like it owes me something. Like if I watch the cityscape long enough, maybe I'll spot the moment everything started to slip into madness. The office is too quiet, even for a Saturday. I've cycled through every document on my desk 3 times. My emails have been answered, all calls have been returned, and various reports have been approved with red slashes, which I barely glanced at. It doesn't help, though. Nothing does. The silence stretches around me like a second skin I didn't ask for. I try to tell myself it's just anticipation, that once the gala's over, I'll sleep again and think clearly again, and I'll be able to function without checking security feeds like a goddamn stalker. But I know better. She's still in my bloodstream, and I don't anticipate a cure or antidote will be found anytime soon. I push back from my desk and pace. Again, the clock says 1:47 p.m. Too early to leave, too late to pretend I care about whatever's waiting on my calendar. I step up to my expansive office windows and grip the edge as I watch the clouds drift by, slow and indifferent. Across town, she's probably brushing past bookshelves, laughing with customers, and touching someone's elbow without realizing she's branding their soul. I wonder if she's thought about me at all today, and if she's as angry as I am restless. I'm wasting time, so I grab my coat and leave. Home is worse. I open the liquor cabinet and stare at it like it might explain something life-altering to me. I pour a glass of something aged and vicious, but then don't touch it. I sit. I stand. Then sit again. My skin itches with something that has nothing to do with hunger and everything to do with absence. I pull the curtains aside, and my reflection glares back at me, tired and impatient. I look like a man unraveling in silk thread, expensive, invisible, and lethal. I don't recognize myself these days. I don't remember the last time someone made me feel this off-center. Maybe I never have. Eventually, I drag myself to my room to get ready for this god-awful gala I loathe to attend. My suit is black, always black, but tonight it feels like feigned armor, tailored to fit every angle of a man who used to know what control felt like. I run a hand down the lapel and exhale. This was supposed to be simple. Show up, make a speech, shake hands, vanish into the night. But nothing about tonight feels simple. I add blood-red cufflinks, an onyx watch, my sigil-emblazoned ring, and my metaphorical mask, all perfectly in place, and yet I still feel like I'm bleeding out under it all. I descend the stairs in front of my high-rise building like I'm headed to a war. My car is waiting out front, but it's not Mike behind the wheel. It's someone I vaguely recognize. One of the backup drivers. He's young and nervous, and I'm immediately irritated. I narrow my eyes at him through the rearview mirror and ask, "Where's Mike?" The man flinches almost imperceptibly before stuttering. He had something come up, said it was urgent. Define urgent. I wasn't told, sir, he replies, and my hackles go up tenfold. The kid's pulse is fluttering like a terrified bird. Before I can press him for answers, though, the back door on the other side of me clicks open, and Griffin folds himself inside like he owns the damn evening. He's in a navy blue suit and that stupid, crooked smile that says, "I'm about to make your life worse, but it'll be fun for me." "Relax," he says, waving a hand as if that's ever worked on me. I'm tagging along. I arch a brow at him and ask suspiciously, "Since when do you attend events like this?" "Since I started babysitting emotionally compromised vampire kings who might commit murder on a ballroom floor." He leans back in his seat and smirkingly adds, "Besides, someone has to stop you from incinerating the bar with your thoughts alone." "I wasn't planning on staying long. 30 minutes is all they get," I grumble. "You say that now." He tugs at his cuff, a picture of nonchalance. "But wait until you see who else RSVP'd." I pause at that, something in his voice. It isn't smug, not exactly, but there's a glint in his eyes I don't like. "What did you do?" I ask, as my spine starts tingling with concern. He shrugs and answers plainly as he glances at his wristwatch. "Nothing that won't become obvious in the next, say, hour?" I glare at him before I growl his name. "Griffin. Let it be a surprise. You could use one." My jaw locks instantly. I hate surprises, especially the kind Griffin likes to orchestrate. They tend to end in emotional whiplash or collateral damage. The car pulls away from the curb, and I stare out the window as the city's skyscrapers blur past in streaks of steel and shadow. Each passing light reflects my face like a phantom I can't outrun. Griffin hums something off-key and infuriating under his breath. I should say something, demand answers, but I can't shake the feeling that tonight is going to undo me in ways I can't yet predict. So I just sit in silence while every muscle in my body is pulled taut. Because something is coming, and for the first time in more than a century, I don't know if I'm equipped for it. I sit beside him in the back seat of the SUV, my legs casually crossed at the ankles, pretending not to notice the way the air around Thane is practically vibrating with repressed violence. His jaw ticks as his eyes are laser-focused out the window, like he's trying to incinerate the skyline by sheer will. He hasn't said a word in 3 minutes, which by his standards is a monologue. "You going to kill anyone before or after the champagne toast?" I ask, my tone light. Always light with him. It's the only thing that doesn't ricochet straight into a wall. He doesn't answer me, but his eye twitches. Progress. Today has been interesting. Harley let me drag her to a spa, which was a small miracle in and of itself, considering she looked like she'd rather chew glass than accept help. She rolled her eyes through half the treatments and complained during the other half, but she needed it. Desperately, and she ended up looking like a goddess when they finished with her. Not that Thane knows that. Yet. The suit he's wearing is basically a warning label. It has sharp lines and is as black as wrath. His crimson cufflinks could be used to take a man out with. He's not dressed to impress. He's dressed to control, to dominate, and to remind everyone who he is. And it's going to make what happens next all the more fun. I glance at him again, letting the silence stretch a beat longer, then say, "You know, I have a really good feeling about tonight." He finally turns to look at me, his one eyebrow arched like I'm a science experiment he forgot to blow up. "You're enjoying this way too much," he mutters. "I live for this," I say, grinning with excitement. "Besides, I didn't bring a date, so I have to find my entertainment somewhere." He looks back out the side window, but his posture is stiffer now, like he's starting to suspect something. Good. I think about the look on Harley's face when I left her outside her apartment earlier. It carried a mix of nerves and fire, sarcasm and fear. She's not just walking into a gala tonight. She's stepping into his world, and she has no idea what that means yet, but she will. And Thane? He won't know what hit him. I'm not saying I enjoy poking sleeping dragons, but there's something satisfying about sitting next to one and pretending everything's fine while the air simmers with unspoken tension. Thane sits rigid beside me in the back of the car, looking like the dictionary definition of misery in a designer suit. His jaw is clenched so tightly it might crack any second now. His fingers twitch against his thigh, no doubt resisting the urge to tear the gala invitation into confetti. I can't quite tell if he wants to set the entire event on fire or himself. Probably both. "Relax," I say, stretching out like we're cruising to a beach resort instead of a battlefield. "It's 30 minutes of fake smiles and champagne. You've survived worse." He grunts, low and dismissive, before he mutters, "I survived worse because I didn't have to make small talk with ancient investors and pretend I'm not mentally compiling a kill list." Fair point. But tonight isn't just about schmoozing immortals with egos the size of entire continents. It's about timing. And maybe, just maybe, shaking something loose in the bottomless black hole he calls a heart. Mike's backup is driving, a good kid who's quiet and doesn't ask questions. I'd arranged that part myself. There was no way Mike was going to drive Thane tonight, not when he had someone way more important to deliver to the gala, and not when Thane needed to stew just a little longer. Sometimes the pot boils over for a reason. He noticed, of course, asked about Mike the moment he got in, but I sidestepped his questions quite beautifully, if I do say so myself. He had narrowed his eyes at me, but let it go. For now, at least. The car hums beneath us, steady and smooth, but Thane's presence makes everything feel heavier. His silence isn't the good kind. It's the kind that pulses with old anger, restrained power, and a longing he refuses to name. Not out loud, and not even to himself. Which is why I'm here. Because someone has to be the voice of reason, even if I'm usually the one greasing the wheels of chaos. I glance at him out of the corner of my eye for the umpteenth time. He looks like a man who's been carved from thunder, sharp lines, marble cold, with eyes like a gathering storm. And underneath all of it, that relentless ache he can't get rid of. He thinks he can out-stubborn fate, that he can ignore what he's feeling, that if he works enough, plans enough, isolates himself enough, it'll all fade. It won't. And deep down, some part of him already knows it. I lean back against the leather seat, tipping my head toward the window, but keeping my focus on him. He doesn't move and doesn't speak. But I can feel the burn rolling off him like smoke from a fire that's not quite out. Today was a long one. Not for him, for me, but I'd do it again in a heartbeat, because the truth is, I like her. A lot more than I expected to. She's sharp, sarcastic, and undoubtedly allergic to bullshit, but she's also real and grounded. She's the kind of person who doesn't take one look at Thane and sees his money, power, or title. She sees the man that he is. And Thane, he needs that more than he'll ever admit. They're inevitable. He just hasn't caught up to the fact yet. I'll give him tonight, one chance to see what I see, one chance to stop running from it. I smile to myself. If he survives the evening without snapping a champagne flute in half, I'll consider it progress. He shifts slightly, as if he senses my amusement. What? He asks, not bothering to look at me. Nothing, I say, just picturing how long you'll last before your eye starts twitching. 5 minutes, he mutters. Tops, causing me to laugh under my breath. The city lights flicker past the windows, reflections playing across his stoic features. He's bracing for a war that might never come. But tonight won't be the fight he's expecting. It'll be something softer. Stranger, yes, but undeniably more potent. And when the moment comes, when his first glimpse of her unravels every wall he's built, I just hope he doesn't combust on the spot. Because he's not ready. But he will be. The car rolls to a stop in front of the 5-star hotel, and for a moment, I stay rooted in the back seat like a coward. Velvet hugs my body in all the right ways, but suddenly I feel like I'm wearing someone else's skin. Someone brave, someone bold, someone who doesn't get ghosted by impossibly beautiful men and spiral over it for 5 days. Mike's voice is soft but steady from the front seat. You've got this, kid. I nod, swallow the lump in my throat, and step out into the night. The lobby gleams like a high-budget fantasy. Marble floors, golden chandeliers, and people who seem to have been born knowing how to network. I don't recognize a single face, which should make me panic, but oddly, it doesn't. Because if there's one thing I've learned from surviving heartbreak, crap parents, and the horror that is hot wax on sensitive areas, is that you have to fake it, and with flair. I square my shoulders, channel my inner chaos goddess, and strut toward the ballroom with the confidence of a woman who owns every man in the room and would sell them for a decent latte. Inside the opulent ballroom, that's draped in gauzy silks and what seems like thousands of fairy lights, the gala is already in full swing. Crystal glasses clink, laughter spills around me like champagne, and a jazz band plays something smooth and sinful from the far corner. The room sparkles with old money, new ambition, and uncomfortable red-bottomed heels. I head to the bar with a purposeful stride, like I have someone to meet, like I'm not scanning the crowd for tall, broody shadows with 2 sharp cheekbones. When the handsome bartender spots me, he raises a brow and asks, "What'll it be?" Something strong, elegant, and capable of giving me better life choices in under 30 seconds. He chuckles and slides me a glass of something amber with a twist of orange. I take the drink and lean one hip against the bar's edge. Then I take a sip, and it burns just enough to feel like a hug from someone with unresolved trauma. I can do this. I give myself a mental pep talk. I'll just float through the night like I'm made of luxury and sarcasm. It's not long before people start to notice me, for eyes to linger and smiles to widen. It's not the usual bar crowd kind of attention. It's more refined, more respectful. Mostly. A silver-haired gentleman in a tux stops by, charming as hell and clearly enjoying my sarcasm. We chat about literature and whiskey, and he offers to introduce me to the event organizer. I politely decline, claiming I'm only here for the drinks and people watching. A younger guy slides in next. He's handsome in a clean-cut boy-next-door kind of way. He compliments my dress, I compliment his tie, and we both pretend not to notice. He's staring at the bare strip of my leg that's peeking through the thigh-high slit. Then it's another older man with salt and pepper hair and the kind of confidence that says, I own 3 vineyards and have opinions about jazz. He introduces himself as Julian and offers to buy me my next drink, which I accept. Another man tries a pickup line that involves Shakespeare and hot sauce. It's horribly bad, but I laugh anyway, because it feels good to laugh. There's also another guy, Liam, I think, with a dimpled smile and a laugh like warm whiskey. He leans in just enough to be charming, but not creepy. He asks about my work, my dress, and if I'm here alone. I don't flirt with all of them, just enough to remember I'm still magnetic and still someone worth orbiting. A few more drift closer, drawn by whatever invisible magnetism velvet and mystery seem to create in settings like this. It's not sleazy, not really. Most are polite, charming in that glossy gala sort of way. A few are genuinely funny. And for a while, I let myself enjoy it. Let my laughter bubble up naturally. Let the warmth in my chest distract me from the dull ache just beneath it. The ache that screams that they don't feel like Thane. None of them looks at me like I'm carved from something rare and dangerous. None of them makes my skin tighten with awareness from across a room. None of them feels like lightning caged in a man's body. And maybe that's a good thing. Julian lifts his glass and charmingly says, "You look like you should be in a painting." Liam laughs and adds, "She'd be the one with the wine and the no-touching sign next to the frame." I smirk as I nod and confirm, "Damn right." A younger guy, I think his name is Michael, leans in and asks softly, "So have you danced yet tonight?" I glance towards the dance floor. It's beautiful in that glimmering, slow-motion kind of way, with couples sweeping across its polished wood, the lights catching on sequins and smiles. It feels a little surreal, but also maybe just what I need. "Not yet," I say. He extends his hand with boyish charm and warmth, asking, "May I have the honor?" I hesitate for only half a second. Because I'm not here to pine, I'm not here to wait. I'm here because I said yes, because I look damn good, and because I want to. So I slide my hand into his and with a kind smile say, "Sure." He returns my smile, and then we start weaving our way through the crowd. And that's when it happens. The moment I step off the edge of the bar area and toward the dance floor, hand in hand with someone who's not Thane, the air changes. A slow ripple of tension moves through the room like the collective inhale before a thunderclap. Heads turn and voices falter. And I don't notice any of it. I'm laughing at something Michael says about stepping on toes while I'm adjusting my grip on his hand and wondering if I'll remember how to follow. I don't see the storm brewing just beyond the archway, and I don't see Thane. But he sees me. He sees the dress he didn't know I'd wear. He sees the hand I gave to someone else. He sees the smile that should have been his, and the whole room shifts beneath the weight of it. I keep walking, oblivious to the chaos unraveling like thread behind me, oblivious to the man whom I've unknowingly set ablaze with the sight of me on another man's arm, oblivious to the reckoning that'll soon storm toward me in a suit made of shadows and barely leashed fury. Tonight, I dance, while the world apparently holds its breath. The second I step into the ballroom, the world shifts. Not in the poetic sense, not in some tired, metaphorical way. I mean it literally. The sounds around the room dim, the lighting that softly glows from the ceiling bends, and every heartbeat in here slows, all but mine. And then, there she is, Harley. It takes half a second to find her in the crowd, even though my eyes shouldn't be able to pick out a single thread in this cacophony of silk and tailored arrogance. But she's a scream of color in a room full of murmurs. The dress is purple, not just any purple, a goddamn sin-wrapped indigo storm. Velvet that catches the light like it has secrets, slashed at the shoulder, teasing bare skin in a way that makes every breath catch in my throat. The neckline dips just low enough to torment me, while the slit rides high on her thigh like a promise no one else should ever be allowed to witness. And she wears it like she knows exactly what it does to the air around her. Her hair's not pinned up or hidden away. It falls in soft, deliberate waves over one shoulder, catching the light like temptation dressed in luxury. It's not trying to be elegant or rebellious. It just is, like she knew the power it held and wore it anyway, unapologetic and impossible to look away from. Her lipstick is a deep, moody red that shouldn't work, but somehow it wrecks me. It's not just a color, it's a statement, a challenge. It's the kind of shade that belongs on slow sips of wine, on whispered threats, and on the skin of someone who'll never forget the taste. And her neck. God, her neck. It's bare, exposed in a way that feels intimate and almost dangerous, like she's daring someone to touch what she doesn't realize she's offering, a stretch of vulnerability wrapped in silky confidence. I want to press my mouth there, feel her pulse under my lips, and prove to the entire room that she's not here alone. But I don't move. I just burn. Mine. My fangs ache. She's laughing next to the bar with her head slightly tilted back, with one hand curled loosely around a glass of something that isn't me. There are men around her. Too many. Then one of them reaches for her hand, and my vision blurs. I take an instinctive step forward, but Griffin's voice cuts through the red haze behind my eyes. Thane, I don't answer him. I can't. Because the moment I see her fingers slip into the stranger's palm, every cell in my body riots. She doesn't see me. She's looking at the man in front of her, the one who just asked her to dance, and she nods while smiling. That smile. The one she gave me in her living room, at the mini golf course, in the fucking drive-in when she fell asleep against me like I could keep the monsters away. And she's giving it to him now. She walks away, hand in hand with a stranger, heading toward the dance floor like my existence doesn't burn beneath her skin the way hers brands every inch of mine. Thane, Griffin says again, quieter now. He must see it in my posture, the way my hands have curled into fists and how my jaw grinds so tightly I can hear my teeth creak. He steps in front of me like he thinks he can stop what's coming, but I sidestep him. The floor parts for her, because, of course, it does. The crowd rearranges itself around her like she's the axis they forgot they were meant to orbit. And the moment she turns just slightly, my breath stops completely. The back of the dress is lower than I expected. Far lower. It dips between her shoulder blades all the way down to just above the swell of her perfectly curved backside, carving a line of exposed skin, so flawless I want to tear the world apart for daring to look at her. My chest tightens, every ounce of composure I have left dangling by a thread made of blood and want and something darker. Possession, hunger, that impossible thing I don't have a name for, because nothing in my 1,000 years has ever come close. She's dancing now, not provocatively by any means, just happily. Her movements are fluid and light, carefree in a way I haven't seen since I first laid eyes on her, as if this entire week didn't gut her the way it did me, as if she's not haunted by memories of our 48 hours together, as if I didn't carve myself out of her life with surgical precision and leave her bleeding. Griffin mutters something beside me, but I don't catch it because my eyes are locked on her. The man she's dancing with pulls her a little closer and makes her laugh again when he whispers something in her ear. And my vision goes white. I want to rip his spine from his throat. She twirls once, the dress flaring around her legs like temptation incarnate. And when she comes to a stop, she stumbles into him briefly and barely, but it's enough. And this time his hand settles at her lower back as they continue gliding over the polished floor. That should be me. That will be me. She has no idea I'm here. That I've watched her every day since Tuesday in some form or another. That I would have burned down cities to get to her sooner if I hadn't been trying to keep her safe. That every time she looked at another man, I unraveled more and more. Tonight, she's the only light in a room full of shadows, and I'm done pretending I can stay away from the flame called Harley Blake. If you go over there like this, Griffin says softly, you'll burn the whole place down. Maybe I will. Maybe I need to. I take a step forward, then another. Griffin mutters something behind me. A warning? A curse? I don't catch it, but I don't care. The music fades into background noise as my vision narrows to one singular point across the room. I'm no longer aware of the glittering pinpricks of light strung from the rafters or the swell of string instruments rising around us like ceremonial smoke. I can't even feel the floor beneath my shoes. I only see her. The crowd parts before me in slow motion, the way shadows recoil from flame, as if the universe itself knows better than to stand between a vampire king and the only woman who's ever brought him to his knees. When the song ends, her partner bows slightly, polished and grinning. She laughs softly, radiantly, and begins to step back. But I intercept her before she can take even half a breath between movements. "Mind if I cut in?" I ask, the words leaving my mouth like a low growl, less a request, more a claim. The man beside her, tall, blonde, annoyingly flawless, smiles politely. He reads the moment for what it is, nods once, and retreats without protest. Smart man. She turns toward me, the smile still curving her lips until she sees who stands in front of her. It dies slowly, carefully, like something she's trained herself to kill. "Thane," she says. My name doesn't shake in her mouth, but her eyes, they flicker like candles tested by the wind. "Harley." There's a heartbeat of silence. Then I take her hand, gently but firmly, and pull her into me before she can decide to refuse me. She stiffens, and for half a second I brace for the push, for the slap, for her to walk away and leave me standing in front of an audience who wouldn't dare laugh at me. But she doesn't, and so I let out the first breath I've taken in what feels like a week. The music shifts, and a new melody rises, slow and aching, the kind that sounds like confessions spun into chords. We move, one step, then another, closer, then closer still. Her left hand rests lightly on my shoulder, the right cupped tenderly in my left, her tension laced through every finger that touches me. My right hand finds the small of her back and settles there like it belongs, almost like it never left. Her gaze finally lifts to mine, and it's sharp and unreadable. "So what's this?" she asks, each word honed like glass. "You saw me dancing and decided now was the time to remember I exist?" "I never forgot you," I say, low and sure. "Not for a single second." She huffs a short laugh that holds no humor, just friction. "Funny. You ghosted me as if it were an Olympic sport. Are you training for gold or just allergic to basic communication?" I could lie, but I won't insult her like that. I'm not good at this. "Oh, that clears it right up." Her mouth twists, and her voice lowers into something bitter and burned, painfully mysterious and emotionally unavailable. Oh, be still, my beating heart. I feel the edges of myself unravel beneath her words, but I deserve worse, so much worse. "I'm not who you think I am," I say, and the weight of those words tastes like rust in my mouth. "No shit, Sherlock. I'm trying." I swallow hard. Hell, I came here tonight just to survive, to smile, nod, fake normalcy for half an hour, and then vanish. But then I saw you. "And what?" she shoots back, her eyes narrowed into slits. "You changed your mind? Thought I'd be here, waiting?" The moment the music ends, Thane's fingers drift away from mine, like he's peeling off something he doesn't want to lose in a slow, reluctant retreat. He steps back, but it's clear he doesn't really want to. His jaw is ticking, tight, tense, like there's something he hasn't said, or something he's still holding hostage behind those midnight eyes of his. And maybe I'm still holding mine too. Before I can decide whether I want to bolt or throw myself at him again, Griffin appears beside us like a well-dressed poltergeist, practically materializing out of the ambient lighting and orchestral swell. "Well, well, well," he drawls with a grin that could cut glass. "Look who just set the ballroom on fire and didn't even stop to hand out marshmallows." I blink at him, the whiplash of his presence snapping me halfway back to earth. "I'd roll my eyes at you, but I think they're still recovering." He gives me a dramatic bow, one arm across his chest. "You're welcome for the invitation, by the way." Thane exhales sharply beside me, one of those frustrated sounds that's more breath than voice. "Griffin." Griffin lifts both palms like he's caught mid-crime. "Relax, bossman. I didn't corrupt her into being here. I just gave her a dress and a car. The rest?" His gaze flicks between the two of us knowingly. "All you two." The growl that rises from Thane's chest is barely audible, but it ripples through the space between us like heated lightning. His entire posture darkens, and I'm almost surprised the chandeliers above us don't flicker. I glance between them, my lips twitching despite myself. "Are you two always this charming at parties, or am I just lucky tonight?" Griffin leans toward me and says in feigned machination, "He's always grumpy. I'm the delightful one. Like red wine and regret, we balance each other out." Before Thane can fire off a comeback that probably involves blood or a letter of termination, a woman with a clipboard and headset appears at his side like clockwork. "Mr. Draven, we're ready for you at the front." Thane's shoulders stiffen. His eyes flick to me, then to Griffin, and then back again. Griffin waves him off as he subtly steps closer to me. "Go make your speech. I'll keep your lovely guest entertained. She already tolerates me, so I'm basically halfway to sainthood." Thane's stare lingers on me, sharp and unreadable. It's not wordless, not exactly, but layered with meaning I haven't deciphered yet. Then he turns and walks away, cutting through the crowd with lethal grace, like a blade sheathed in velvet. Griffin watches him go, then casually hooks his arm through mine like we've been besties for years. "Come, my enchantress, let's go find our table before your ex-almost boyfriend explodes a waiter for breathing near you." "I can walk," I mutter, but I don't shake him off. Not that I could, even if I wanted to, and part of me doesn't. The ballroom is a carousel of glitter and shadow, light refracted through crystal and spun across every surface. The chandeliers above us, now fully lit, throw golden splinters of color across white linen, polished silver, and shimmering gowns. The scent of expensive perfume and candle wax lingers in the air, sweet and heady. Around me, conversations bubble like champagne, clinking glasses, low laughter, political smiles. And yet somehow, I'm not drowning. Not completely. Maybe it's the dress, maybe it's the adrenaline, maybe it's the way Thane looked at me, like I was the only thing grounding him in a room full of everything he's supposed to want. Griffin leads me to a long table near the front, too close to the stage for comfort, but far enough that I don't have to make awkward eye contact with the spotlight crowd. "I feel like I should curtsy before sitting down," I mutter as he pulls my chair out with practiced flair. "Just try not to stab anyone with the salad fork," he replies as he takes his seat beside me. "They get testy about that." My comeback fizzles when Thane steps onto the stage, and everything and everyone in the room stills. It's ridiculous, really, how the room falls silent without anyone asking it to. He hasn't spoken yet. He hasn't even moved. He just stands there, black on black, like the event manifested around him instead of the other way around. He's basically a living shadow with a pulse. His voice cuts through the hush of the room, and it's low, rich, and measured, calm but unyielding, velvet-lined with something sharper. "Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming." Something inside my chest shifts. Just those few words, and I feel like I'm hearing him for the first time all over again. He continues, welcoming donors and investors, delivering all the right lines to all the right people. It's smooth and polished, every syllable threaded through with authority. There's weight behind his words. Control, the kind that doesn't need to raise its voice to command a room. Griffin leans toward me and whispers, "He's a lot, huh?" I don't answer, because yes, he is. So fucking much. And I hate how badly I want it all. The speech ends and applause ripples outward like a slow-moving tide, not just polite but earned. Than descends the stage with that predator's grace and doesn't break stride as he walks toward us, toward me. I glance down, pretending the salad fork arrangement is suddenly fascinating. "Nice speech," Griffin says easily, as Thane settles into the empty seat beside me. Thane grunts. His thigh brushes against mine under the table, and it doesn't feel like an accident. My breath catches, but I refuse to look at him. The first course arrives, a whisper of greens, edible petals, and things too delicate to survive my fridge. I prod the plate with suspicion before saying, "This salad is judging me." Thane doesn't respond. He just watches me, quiet, intense, and impossibly steady, like I might vanish again if he blinks too long. And me? I keep my face composed, cool, untouched, but inside, I'm a hurricane. And I'm not sure if he's the storm or the eye of it. The clink of crystal and the rustle of linen napkins barely register above the static under my skin. I sit at this elegant, dimly lit table like a puzzle piece forced into the wrong box, trying to remember how to breathe like I belong. My dress hugs me like a secret, my heels hurt like betrayal, and beside me sits a man who, only moments ago, held me as if I were the only person in the world. Only now, He's carefully avoiding eye contact as if I'm a loaded weapon pointed at his carefully curated life. Thane doesn't look at me. He does speak, yes, just not to me. Not anymore. His voice glides easily into various conversations around the table with investors and board members, even elegant women who laugh too loudly and touch his arm too often. People keep approaching our end of the table like he's the center of some solar system I'm not privy to, and they can't help but orbit him. And Thane? He lets them. Currently, he's speaking to a woman on his other side, some tall, leggy brunette in a dress that could probably pay my rent for the next 6 months. He's smiling politely, nodding at her every other comment, and occasionally he tosses a bone of attention toward the man across from him. In other words, anyone and everyone except me. I chew my salad without tasting it, watching as his hand rests casually on the tablecloth, not even flinching in my direction. I hate how aware I am of him, of his posture, of the clean-cut precision in his voice, of the way his jaw tenses when someone calls his name from another table, but then still shifts slightly to acknowledge their greeting, even offering a smile that feels practiced and filtered. He's flawless tonight, and so far away, I could scream. I take a slow sip of my water, my lips pressed tight against the rim of the glass to keep from saying something I'll regret. The remnants of the salad in front of me are a wilted mess by now, but it's better company than the man I danced with 20 minutes ago. Beside me, Griffin stabs a cherry tomato with a little too much gusto. "You know," he murmurs under his breath. He's trying real hard not to look like he's staring at you every 30 seconds. My jaw clenches before I say, "Well, he's succeeding. Congrats to him." Griffin flashes a smile that's more sympathy than amusement. He's a complicated man who thinks brooding is a love language. "Mine's communication," I deadpan, "preferably directed at me." Griffin sighs. "He's complicated. Complicated doesn't give you permission to be an ass." I stab a too fancy asparagus spear. You don't get to whisper sweet, confusing things in someone's ear 1 minute and pretend they don't exist the next. Thine lifts his wine glass, his lips brushing the rim, while his eyes are on someone across the table who just joined the conversation. His profile is sharp, yet unreadable. Griffin watches me watching him and says, "I know it feels like he's retreating." He does that, especially when he feels things or overthinks. I cut him off with a shake of my head, saying brusquely, "Don't defend him. Not now." A server brings the main course, something with truffle and beef, and words I don't have the patience to pretend I understand, and I push the plate slightly forward, my appetite gone. A polite laugh erupts from across the table, and Thane's voice joins it. Of course, I take another long sip of my drink. When I set the glass down, my gaze snags on his just for a second, inky black and glinting with something I can't quite name. He opens his mouth like he's going to say something, but then a hand claps him on the shoulder and he turns away. And that's it. Pushing my chair back, I stand abruptly. Thane stops mid-sentence with his conversation and turns to me, finally reacting. "Harley?" I cut him a look that could curdle wine as I say, "I need a minute to remember why I showed up." He shifts closer to me, reaching out a hand as if to stop me, but I sidestep him smoothly. "Don't," I say softly, not bothering to fake a smile. "You're doing a bang-up job pretending I'm not here. Might as well make it easier on you." Griffin winces like he's been slapped. I step away from the table, and every click of my heels echoes in my head like a countdown. I don't cry, and I don't turn back, and I most certainly don't give him the satisfaction of thinking he still gets to choose when I matter. I weave through the round tables and designer dresses, past champagne flutes and $1,000 watches. No one here knows who I am, and most don't even glance my way. But I feel like everyone's watching me. Outside the ballroom doors, the hallway is blessedly quiet, but I don't head straight to the bathroom. I lean against the wall just beside a marble pillar and try to inhale something steady. The gala is supposed to be a glamorous and grand affair, a night to remember. Instead, it's unraveling by the minute, thread by aching thread. What was I expecting? That he'd see me, really see me, and all his walls would come down? That we'd waltz into something tangible with no hesitation and no armor? He said I mattered. Then he ignored me in front of everyone. I don't know what's worse, the dance that felt like gravity, or the silence that followed it. Voices grow louder from inside the ballroom, followed by more laughter and the sounds of toasts being made. I close my eyes and press my hands to my stomach. The dress is gorgeous, but it suddenly feels too tight, like it's holding in too many feelings I don't have words for yet. The hallway stays silent, save for the dull throb of bass from the string quartet playing something classical inside. I don't know what I'll do when I go back in. Sit beside him again? Pretend I didn't almost cry over steak and snobbery? No, tonight I wear the dress for myself. Not him. Not anymore. The quiet in the hall doesn't last long. I stay tucked behind the pillar for another moment, breathing around the knot in my ribs. But eventually, I push off the wall and head toward the bathroom with my clutch gripped in one hand like a weapon. The hallway is dimly lit, moody and elegant, with gold sconces and antique frames lining the walls. Even the damn carpet is expensive. Each step I take feels louder than it should, like my heels are betraying my inner chaos. The ladies' room is polished marble and soft lighting, complete with perfumed soap and a lounge corner made for gossip. I duck into a stall without making eye contact with the woman reapplying lipstick at the mirror. The moment I close the door, I finally let out the breath I didn't know I was holding. I need a second to collect myself, to pee, to scream internally, whatever happens first. But then the main door to the bathroom opens, and heels click across the tiles. Not just one set, multiple. I swear to God, if Thane Draven so much as glances at me after this gala, I'm climbing him like a tree, says a voice I don't recognize, light, polished, rich. The second woman laughs. Get in line. If he even breathes in my direction, I'll happily lose my morals for a night, or a week, or forever. A third joins in, her voice lower and amused. You know what I heard? He doesn't show up in group photos, like ever. I thought it was just a coincidence, but come on, have you seen his eyes? The second chimes in again. My cousin swears she saw him walk out of a car crash once with no blood and no limp, just walked away from the whole thing like it was nothing. Number 3 then stage whispers, you know what they say, right? That he's not entirely normal. Like some people say he doesn't age, or that he moves impossibly fast. One guy even said he's a vampire. The other 2 laugh loudly and breathily, the sound bouncing off the marble-tiled room. That explains why he's so unnaturally hot and cold, like an apex predator in Armani, the first voice adds unhelpfully. I freeze. At first, I almost laugh with them. Vampire? Really? These women sound like they binge-read supernatural romance novels while sipping their expensive wine. But then I remember the way his wound had already begun to heal when I changed his bandages on Saturday. How his strength felt unnatural when he moved my heavy-ass couch. How fast he crossed a room on a few occasions. The way he always seems to know things he shouldn't, like some of my thoughts. I suddenly feel cold, unmoored, and panic starts to crawl up my throat like ivy. I flush the toilet for show, open the stall door, and don't stop to make eye contact with any of them as I pass by. My heels echo too sharply on the floor, and I feel their stares follow me as I push open the door and step back into the hallway. And the panic that reared its ugly head in there, it keeps following me like a wraith. I pull my phone from my clutch with trembling fingers and head for the stairs. I don't want to wait for the elevator. I don't want to linger another second. I just need to get out. Get air. Get home. The stairwell is dim, and my head is spinning too much to make sense of the blur of shadows and gold railing. Then my heel catches the edge of a step. Shit! My hand flies out, but there's nothing to catch. So I tumble forward, the marble edge of the next step colliding with my temple and sending a shockwave through my skull. My clutch slips from my other hand, and I slide inelegantly while my arms flail until I land awkwardly halfway down the flight of stairs. Pain screams up my wrist as I instinctively brace my fall, and my palm skids on the step, splitting the skin. Blood. Fuck. Of course, there's blood. I groan and drag myself upright, swaying slightly as I press my uninjured hand to my head. My phone. Where the hell is? There. It landed a few steps down. I crawl to it, my knees complaining with each motion I take, and finally fumble it into my grip. My vision sways, but I manage to tap Mike's name and hit the call button. Thank all things holy that I took his number right before I got out of the car tonight. The line connects almost immediately. Miss Harley? My voice shakes as I say, "Can you come get me? Please, now." "Where are you?" he asks, and I already hear movement in the background. "The stairwell at the east exit, I think. I just need to leave." "On my way. Stay there." The call ends, and I lean against the wall with my eyes squeezed shut. My head throbs, my hand stings, and my chest aches in ways I can't explain. I don't know how long it takes, but then a door bursts open and Mike appears, his face sharp with worry. His eyes scan the blood on my hand, the bruising bloom at my temple, and the pain, physical and emotional, tightening my face. He crouches beside me, his voice low and clipped as he asks, "What happened?" I shake my head, my jaw trembling. "I fell." His mouth presses into a thin line like he doesn't believe me. Then quieter, but with weight, he asks, "What did he do?" "Nothing," I whisper as the fight drains from me. "Everything. I don't know." Mike exhales through his nose and lifts me gently into his arms, then says tenderly, "You're going home. That's all that matters." My head slumps against his chest, the thud of his heart like a distant metronome trying to keep time with the chaos inside me. Every step he takes jostles the sting in my palm and the throb above my eye, but I don't complain. I don't speak at all. I just let the numbness settle like dust over everything sharp, while my heart quietly folds in on itself, still bleeding in places no one can bandage. Harley's footsteps echo through me long after she vanishes through the ballroom doors. I hear them like a rhythm I can't follow, growing fainter until they disappear completely. I don't move. Not right away. My jaw is set, and my fingers are clenched around the stem of my wine glass so tightly that the crystal might crack any second now. But I keep my posture elegant, like nothing happened, like the woman I just danced with didn't look at me like I was the beginning and the end of something she didn't ask for. Griffin shifts beside me. He doesn't speak at first, but I can feel the weight of his stare on the side of my face. "You do realize you just fucked that up, right?" he eventually says judgmentally. I don't answer. He continues anyway, quiet but merciless. "You looked at her like she was oxygen 1 minute. No, then you spent 30 minutes pretending she wasn't in the room right next to you." I take a slow sip of my wine, savoring the sting of it, hoping it will mask the more awful one in my chest. "I was being careful." "You were being a coward," he corrects scathingly. My glare cuts to him, sharp and immediate, but he doesn't even flinch a millimeter. "Don't look at me like that, Mr. Draven. You went to her. You danced with her like your soul recognized hers, then you ignored her like she was some inconvenient detail you could forget." When I hear him call me by my surname, I know I've royally fucked up. When we're in the boardroom amongst clients, sure, but outside of it, not in decades. "You don't understand." I hedge. Griffin barks out a soft laugh that's sardonic and sharp. "Oh, I understand, all right. I understand that you're terrified, that you're standing on the edge of something real, and rather than step forward, you'd rather throw yourself back into the lonely abyss." I run a hand through my hair while exhaling through my nose, the chandelier above us sparkling like a pretty trap. "You didn't see her face when she left," Griffin says, quieter now. "That wasn't a woman who just needed a minute. That was a woman breaking into a million pieces at the hands of a man she thought was different." I flinch, just slightly, but it's enough. The table chatters on around us, a cacophony of clinking glasses, pleasant lies, and money-soaked laughter. And beneath it all, the hollow ache of knowing I'd been handed a miracle and then fucked it up by holding it like it might bite me. 10 minutes pass, then 15, and I check the door after every few minutes. Still no Harley. I stand abruptly. My chair scrapes against the polished floor, and Griffin rises with me. Then I stagger, one step, then another. "What is it?" he asks. My hand goes to the edge of the table for balance as something claws through me, a surge of pressure and heat and pain that isn't mine, a flare in my wrist, a sharp, tearing sensation across my palm, a hammering throb at my temple, then the unmistakable copper tang of blood, not mine, Harley's. My pulse turns violent as Griffin catches my shoulder. "Thane, talk to me." I swallow hard, my voice rough as stone when I say, "She's hurt, something's wrong, there's blood." Griffin's expression shifts instantly, all charm vanishing when he asks with urgency, "Where is she?" "I don't know, I only felt it." Then we move. We push past stunned guests, threading our way between tables and ignoring polite protests. My eyes scan every corridor and every alcove, but she's nowhere. Split up, I bark at him. Check the foyer, the back hallways. On it. Griffin disappears, already pulling out his phone to text someone, maybe the valet or my security that's lurking in the shadows somewhere. I head towards the side hallway outside the ballroom with blood in my mouth and fire in my limbs. She's close, or at least she was. Eventually, I push through a set of glass doors leading to the hotel's front drive, my breath shallow and my collar clinging to the beating sweat at the nape of my neck. The night air is cooler here, sharp with exhaust fumes and the fading remnants of cigars. That's when I see it. A sleek black SUV pulls away from the curb, with a familiar figure behind the wheel. Mike, in the back seat, behind the tinted glass, there's a blur of fabric and a pale, feminine arm. Harley. I step into the street without thinking, screaming, "Harley!" She doesn't look back, but maybe she can't. Griffin skids to a stop beside me as his eyes narrow on the retreating red backlights and asks, "That Mike's car?" I nod once, already reaching for my phone. The line rings once before Mike picks up without so much as a greeting. "She's safe. I'm taking her home." His voice is clipped and controlled, but not insubordinate. Yet I can hear it, the tightness beneath his calm. "What happened?" I ask as my mind races with all the possibilities of what could have caused this. Apart from me, that is. His reply is succinct. "Later, boss. She's hurt. She needs quiet." "I'm coming." "Not now," Mike says. "Give her space." And then the line goes dead. I stare at the phone in my hand like it betrayed me, not entirely sure what just happened. Griffin curses under his breath, then says, "Screw it. Uber black, it is." He pulls out his own phone and starts typing fast as I stand beside him in shock. I don't hear the faint voices that drift towards us from far inside the ballroom. I don't feel the cool night air as it whispers across my flushed skin. All I feel is the sick churn in my gut, the echo of Harley's pain still thrumming in my bones like it belongs to me. And maybe it does. Maybe I did this. Maybe I pushed her away too hard and pulled her to me too little. I stood 10 feet away while the one person who makes this fucked up existence bearable unraveled in silence. And now she's bleeding, gone. And I don't know if I'm about to lose her or if I already have. When the luxury rideshare stops at the curb next to us, I move with Griffin to slide in the back, but my mind is no longer here. It's in that car with her, tracing the path of blood on her skin, hearing the echo of her heels as she walked away from me. And all I can think, over and over, is that I let her go. And I may have just broken the one thing I can't live without. The world outside the car window is a blur of city lights and shadows, all distorted by the fog that has ominously started creeping in since we pulled away from the hotel's curb. My cheek is pressed against the cool leather of the back seat, and I can feel the thrum of the tires beneath me, that's steady and distant like a heartbeat that doesn't quite belong to me. Mike hasn't said a word since helping me into the car. Not when I tripped because I miscalculated when I tried to slide into the car. Not when I bled all over his shirt while I was holding on to him for stability. And not even when I started to shake and couldn't stop. His silence isn't cold, though. It's steady and protective. My palm stings like hell. There's a throb blooming behind my right eye from where my head hit the stairs, and my wrist has a dull ache from when I tried to break my fall. But it's the ache in my chest that drowns everything else out. I turn my head and look at the rearview mirror, my voice small but not brittle, as I ask, "Mike?" He quickly glances back at me and then says, "Yeah?" Back at the hotel, I start slowly, trying to stitch the words together through the fog of adrenaline and doubt. I overheard something. In the bathroom, a few women, they were talking about Thane. Mike doesn't speak, but something shifts in the air. He's listening, but it's as if he's also bracing himself for my next words. I push forward, even though every part of me wants to stay quiet and pretend I didn't hear it. One of them said she'd let him ruin her, that he was probably dangerous, but she wouldn't mind. Another said there were rumors about him, about how he doesn't age, how he's not normal. Mike exhales through his nose, but he doesn't look at me or interrupt me. And then the third one said she's heard people whisper that he might be a vampire. Like, that's just a thing you can say out loud in a fancy bathroom, I finish, rolling my eyes at the absurdity of it. Still, I get nothing from him. No scoff, No laugh, and not even a, "You're kidding, right?" There's just silence that's heavy and careful. The cold in my bones deepens at his stoicism. "Is it true?" I ask, the words barely above a whisper. "Is he?" My voice trails off because I can't make myself repeat the word. I feel stupid for asking, stupid for needing to know. But I've seen the way Thane moves, the way he heals, the way his eyes flash when his moods change. Mike shifts slightly in his seat, his eyes still fixed on the road ahead, as he says, "It's not my place to say, Miss Harley." And that, somehow, is the most solid confirmation I could have gotten. I stare down at my bloody hand, at the line of red across my palm, and the rivulets that keep running sporadically down my wrist. Everything feels like it's unraveling. And I don't know what scares me more, the idea that Thane might be something inhuman, or the fact that it doesn't make me want to run. Not really, not quite yet. The rest of the drive to my home is silent. When we pull into my small driveway, Mike circles the car and opens my door. He helps me out of the car like I'm made of glass and gilt. He also doesn't rush or manhandle me. With one arm around my waist and the other steadying me, we make our way up the short walkway to my front door, and each step feels heavier than the last, like the night is clinging to my ankles. I fumble for my clutch to fish for my keys, but Mike gently takes it from my good hand. "I've got it," he says, already unclipping it. He finds my key quickly, because of course he does, and unlocks the door with quiet efficiency. And bless his soul, he doesn't comment on the smear of blood across the clasp he had to touch in the process. He just opens the door like it's his job to shield me from anything that might hurt. The house is dark and still as we enter, and the familiar hush is so complete, it almost makes the chaos from earlier feel imagined. Almost. Mike clicks on the small lamp near my reading chair and then guides me over to the couch, where he gently lets me sit on the cushion closest to the entryway. "Sit. I'll grab the first aid kit. Where is it?" "In the kitchen," I murmur, my voice paper thin, "in the small cupboard below the sink." He nods once and then disappears into the shadows of the still dark kitchen, leaving me alone in the pool of warm yellow light. I sink into the back of the couch like it's a confession. The leather groans softly beneath me, familiar in all the ways my heart currently isn't, as my wrist throbs, my palm stings, and my head is a quiet drumbeat of regret and too many questions. I bend forward and unstrap my heels, hissing slightly as the cool air hits my sore feet. I let them fall to the side with quiet thuds, tuck my legs in underneath me, and curl my good hand into the worn cushion to my left. I don't move and I don't speak, and I don't let myself think too hard, because if I do, I'll start asking the kind of questions I'm not ready to hear answers to. Not tonight, at least. Mike returns a moment later, crouching in front of me, and places the first aid kit on the coffee table with a soft clatter. He sits back on his heels and meets my gaze, his own calm but unreadable. "Where does it hurt?" he asks gently. I lift my chin slowly. My wrist and palm, I hesitate. The side of my head, too. I hit it when I went down. Mike winces. "Okay, let's start with your hand." He reaches out slowly, as if he's afraid he might spook me should he make any sudden movements, and I, in turn, begin to extend it toward him. Right before he touches me, though, a loud bang, bang rings out that startles me and snaps Mike's spine straight. It takes me a second to realize it's a fist that's being pounded against my front door. Hard, urgent. Then a voice cuts through the quiet that's low and rough and unmistakably panicked. "Harley, Thane." Mike straightens immediately, his whole body shifting subtly between me and the door. It's not in an aggressive way, nor in a confrontational way. It's just protective, like a shield I didn't even know I needed. He looks back at me, his expression tight as he asks, "Do you want me to let him in?" The Uber ride to her house feels endless, stretching between us like a dark highway I can't escape. I know I should have listened to Mike. He made it crystal clear not to go, but I can't not go to her. Griffin sits beside me, looking as smug as ever in his navy suit. His presence, which is usually comforting, only heightens the pressure that sits on my chest. He's been quiet for the most part, but I can feel his eyes on me in the dim car light. Always watching and always calculating. He lets out a long sigh, and it's the kind that signals he's not going to let me stew in my thoughts for much longer. You're really fucking this up, right? Griffin's voice slices through the low hum of the engine like it's been sharpening itself during the entire ride until now. I don't look at him. Not now, I mutter, my eyes glued to the faint blur of lights outside the window. You're not good at this, Thane. I get that. Griffin continues, his voice turning into something like disappointment. Hell, I know you have no idea what you're doing, but you keep pushing and pulling her, and every time she tries to get close, you push her even further away. I can feel my jaw tighten, but I don't let the words hit me, no matter how true they are. Just drop it, I growl, though I know it's not really directed at him. I'm angry at myself, angry at how I let things get this far. But Griffin doesn't stop because that's not who he is. He leans in just a little, almost as if he's savoring the moment, then asks, "You honestly believe Mike won't shield her from someone like you? A man like you, who can't even open up to the people closest to him, let alone deserve someone like her?" I don't answer him, but my teeth grind together at his every word. Griffin seems to sense he's pushed me as far as he can for tonight, at least. Okay, he sighs, leaning back into his seat. But don't say I didn't warn you. We stay quiet for the remainder of the ride. The tension in the car is thick enough to cut, the weight of everything I've left unsaid sitting between us like an unspoken truth. Finally, the car comes to a stop outside her house. The headlights flicker over the front yard, illuminating her front door, her porch, her short walkway, everything I've wanted to see for days. I barely wait for the car to come to a complete stop before I open the door and step out, a man on a mission to get to his woman. Griffin follows behind me, but I don't hear his footsteps. I don't hear anything except the sound of my own heart hammering in my chest as her front door gets closer with each step I take. I don't need to look back to know Griffin's not happy with my decision. But nothing is going to stop me from walking through that door, from seeing her, and from fixing this shit show that I was the catalyst of. I reach her door in seconds, my hand slamming against it 3 times before I even register what I'm doing. The sound is loud and urgent, just like everything I've been feeling since she walked away from me. Since I fucked this up, Harley, I bark, my voice rougher than I intend, but it's the only thing I can do to ground myself in this moment. Then I wait as my pulse pounds in my ears. But there's no response. I know they're here. Mike's car is parked in her driveway, so why isn't she answering? I feel the weight of Thane's presence as he kneels before me, with his face a perfect study in both tension and vulnerability. His hand is still clasped around mine, but I'm aware of every fraction of distance between us. He's also waiting. I can feel it in the stillness of the room and in the way the air hangs thick with unsaid words. He's offering me everything, but what good is it if I can't take it? I look over at Mike and Griffin as they stand before my bay windows like sentinels, Griffin having followed behind Thane when he pushed past Mike. Their eyes are locked on me with an intensity that makes it hard to breathe. They're waiting, too, for me to make sense of this, of him, but they're also offering me protection and perhaps even serving as my shields. But that's not what I need, not anymore. I slowly pull my hand from Thane's, ignoring the sudden ache in my chest that follows the action. I straighten, shifting on the couch, with every inch of me painfully aware of the tension between us. The last few days have felt like a blur, blurred by passion, by confusion, and now by the knot of fear twisting in my stomach. I need answers, and I need them now. My voice comes out quieter than I mean it to, almost like I'm trying to convince myself just as much as him. I need answers, Thane, real answers. He doesn't say anything at first, but the change in his demeanor is unmistakable. The way his shoulders tense and how his eyes flicker with something dark behind them is subtle, but it's enough. Enough to make my heart race in a way I can't control. I don't wait for him to speak. I can't. I need to say it, even if it's the last thing I want to know. Back at the gala, in the bathroom, I overheard something. I glance at Griffin, then at Mike, feeling their gazes on me like a weight. Some women were talking about you. I pause for a beat, the words feeling like lead in my mouth, heavy and full of consequences. They said you didn't age, that you were not normal. My following words tremble from my chest as I add, one of them even said you might be a vampire. The word sounds almost absurd coming from my mouth. A vampire. It sounds like the punchline to a shitty joke, like a fantasy someone made up to explain the impossible. I glance at Thane, my throat tight. His face is unreadable, but there's something in his eyes. Something I can't name, but I can feel it deep down in my bones. It's like a warning, or an instinct I haven't learned how to trust fully yet. But it's there, and it makes everything inside me stop moving for a moment. I don't look at Griffin or Mike right now. I can't. I'm entirely focused on Thane and on the way the air shifts around him. Is it true? The question leaves my mouth without me even thinking about it. The words too fragile, yet too desperate to be left unspoken. There's a long moment of silence, too long, and then Thane's lips tighten just the slightest bit as a muscle in his jaw flexes. It's a small change, but it's enough. And when I see it, something inside me freezes. I feel it, the dread crawling up my spine and creeping like ice through my veins. His gaze flickers from my face to where my hands are clasped in my lap, and that's when I know. I know it's true. He's not answering, not yet, but everything about his posture screams the answer I was dreading. I sit in the corner of the couch, my fingers still trembling from the storm of realization that's just hit me like a freight train. I'm trying, really trying, to rationalize what I've just learned, but it's like trying to plug a hole in a sinking boat with paper towels. Thane's still kneeling on the ground on the far side of the couch, his presence a heavy weight in the air between us. The silence isn't comforting anymore. It's suffocating. Griffin and Mike are still standing in front of the bay windows, with their eyes fixed on me as they wait for the storm to pass. But I don't know how to make the storm stop. I feel my signature sarcasm creeping back into my voice, my only defense mechanism, the thing that's always kept me safe till now. You guys are really good at this, you know? If this is some sick joke, it's a shitty one. It's Griffin who steps forward, tilting his head slightly, as he somberly says, "It's not a joke, Harley." I scoff, rolling my eyes, trying to push the absurdity of everything that's been said and everything that I've just discovered to the back of my mind. Of course it isn't, I say, throwing my hands up in mock surrender. Why would I think it was? It's all perfectly normal. Vampires, right? Why not? Then, suddenly, it hits me. A thought so ridiculous I almost want to laugh, but I can't. What if? What if Griffin and Mike are vampires too? The thought sparks in my brain like a match striking, and I blurt it out before I can stop myself. Wait, I say, my voice a little too high-pitched. Are you? I start as I wag my pointer finger between them. Vampires too? Because if you are, then that'll be one hell of a plot twist. Griffin stares at me for a beat, and then, as if it's a typical Saturday night, he confirms it with a cocky smirk tugging at the corner of his mouth. Yeah, you caught us. And that's it. That's all it takes. The first real laugh I've had in what feels like forever bursts out of me, shaky and completely inappropriate. It's also hysterical, the kind of laugh that borders on madness. Because how else am I supposed to make sense of this? I laugh more and harder, clutching my stomach like the weight of it might topple me over. This is insane, I say, gasping between laughs. I mean, really, vampires? In real life? What is this, some twisted horror show? Griffin's voice cuts through my laughing fit, and it's sharp and direct, totally unlike the guy I've come to like in the past week. Harley, you're laughing, but you're still not getting it. I try to rein myself in, wiping away a tear that escaped as I take in a breath, but the laughter's still there, bubbling up in snickers. Oh, please, I sputter, trying to make sense of the words that are coming out of my mouth. Vampires don't exist. They're in books. They're in movies. They're not in real life. This is fucking nuts. Griffin raises an eyebrow, crossing his arms across his chest, clearly waiting for my second bout of laughter to end. When it doesn't, his voice turns serious. Harley, it's real, and you've known it for longer than you're willing to admit. I can't help myself. I just shake my head, looking between the men scattered around my living room. No. You're trying to tell me that vampires exist and I've just missed it? No, vampires are fantasy, fiction, an escape from reality. Griffin, his voice now carrying a thread of impatience, doesn't give me much time to linger in that moment, though. Have you noticed his inhuman strength? He asks, his eyes narrowing like he's trying to see through me. I sit here, watching her, as I try to gauge the storm behind those emotion-filled green eyes of hers. The tension in the room is thick, almost suffocating, and I can sense the pulse of her erratic heartbeat that's only deepening the hunger for her within me. My fangs ache with the pressure of her presence, drawing the very life force from the air between us. The words I just spoke hang there, suspended like a charged electric current, crackling with the weight of truth and inevitability. Her response isn't sharp or defensive this time. It's quiet, almost fragile, as she keeps her gaze on mine. I can see the vulnerability there, the rawness beneath the armor she wears so well. She's still holding herself together, still trying to maintain that distance, but I can see it now. She's not avoiding the truth anymore. I think I do, she whispers, so softly that I almost miss it. Her voice trembles just slightly, and in that moment I hear the hesitation, the fear, but also the longing for something more, something true, something real. She's searching for answers, just as much as I am, and that, more than anything, tells me this is real, that it's happening. Griffin's words replay in my mind, still echoing in the space between us like an uninvited shadow, the way he pushed her with his questions about me, questions that, bit by bit, tore away the layers of the carefully constructed facade she tried to glue together with desperate humor and sharp sarcasm, until we all could see the cracks forming in her rationalizations. Have you noticed his inhuman strength? Ever notice he moves real fast sometimes? What about how quickly he healed after getting stabbed last Friday? The weight of it all presses down on me, on both of us, and the pull to prove myself to her becomes unbearable. I want to show her everything, everything that I am and everything that she is to me. But I know this is a dance that's delicate and fraught with tension, and I won't rush it. I can't. Not if I want her to be mine. Still kneeling on her living room floor, the cool hardwood beneath me almost grounding me, I shuffle closer to her, but not too quickly. I need to show her, to give her something tangible that can shatter the walls she's so meticulously built. My hand reaches out slowly towards hers, which is still stained with her blood from earlier. The warmth of her skin seems to pull me in, and I can feel the familiar ache of restraint tighten around my chest. May I? I ask, my voice steady. But the question, my question, feels foreign coming from me. She hesitates, her fingers trembling just slightly, and for a brief moment, I think she might pull away again. But then, slowly, she lifts her hand and places it in mine. There's a moment, a beat, where neither of us moves. But then, as I pull her hand closer to me, I feel it, the shift, the undeniable pull of the bond between us, and my heart hammers, louder than I expect. I lower my head to her wrist, my gaze never leaving hers. Her eyes are wide and apprehensive as she watches me with a mix of confusion and something else, something that could be curiosity or perhaps fear. I brush my lips over her pulse point gently, once, almost reverently, and my breath catches as I inhale the scent of her skin, a soft and intoxicating blend of vanilla and jasmine. But it's the pull of her blood, the rhythm of her pulse under her delicate skin, that makes me ache with a hunger so deep it threatens to consume me whole. And then I let it happen. I feel the sharp elongation of my fangs pressing against my gums as they emerge slowly, millimeter by millimeter, responding to the beat of her blood throbbing beneath my touch. Her pulse quickens, like a siren song to my blackened soul, pulling me deeper and closer. Still holding her gaze, I open my mouth slowly so my fangs now hover just above her skin. She sees them, my fangs, those sharp, dangerous extensions of who I am, and I see the moment of recognition in her eyes. She sees me for what I truly am. Her fingers tremble, and she sharply inhales as she tries to steady her breath, but I can feel the shift in her as the moment overwhelms her. She didn't expect this. She couldn't have. I don't hesitate, pressing my fangs lightly into her skin, just enough to feel the first rush of her blood as it flows into my mouth. It's warm and sweeter than anything I've ever tasted. It's everything I've ever craved and more, and I almost lose myself in it, in her, in the sensation of her life flowing into me. I feel her pulse, her life force, and I want to take more. I want to drown in it. I want to fill the emptiness inside me with it until there's nothing left but the two of us. But I don't. I can't. Even if I can feel the darkness pulling at me, urging me to take it further, to claim her fully, I have to stop. Inhuman restraint tightens around my senses as I force myself to pull back. My fangs retract gently as I feel the sting of her discomfort, the brief, sharp flare of pain as I withdraw from her. She winces, but I know it won't last long. The bond between us will heal it. Already, I can feel her flesh knitting itself back together. I watch her closely as the blood starts to disappear and the marks of my bite begin to fade. She stares at her wrist, watching the skin close up in real time. Her expression is one of disbelief, confusion, and something deeper, something I don't want to name just yet. I want to say something to reassure her, but words are useless right now. She's already seen what I am. She already knows what I'm capable of. And I'm not sure I'm ready for her to understand the weight of that completely. I can feel the pull in the air between us, our mate bond stretching tighter. We've crossed a line now, one that can never be uncrossed. Her hand twitches in mine, and she lifts it slowly towards her, now staring at the wound on her palm that's in the process of healing too. Soon, the marks of my bite and the cut on her hand will fade as the skin heals completely. Her voice falters, and she swallows hard, staring at her hand. I don't know what to say. I can feel the ache in my chest as the weight of her disbelief presses against me like a physical force. That, I say softly, was only a taste of what I am. Her eyes flicker back to mine then, and I see something there, something almost like veneration, but underneath it, something else. Fear, maybe? I don't blame her for it, though. But I also know that she's my fated mate, and she won't ever be able to escape me. Not after tonight. The world feels like it's tilting at a dangerous angle as I watch my palm close up in front of my eyes, the edges of the wound slowly knitting together with something akin to dark magic. The skin pulls taut, the blood fading into nothing, leaving behind only the faintest trace of where there was once pain as a comforting warmth sinks into the very fabric of my being. I look at my hand, turning it over in disbelief, but the rhythmic beat of my pulse is still there, steady, strong, and unyielding. Everything I thought I knew about myself feels like it's cracking and splintering at the edges. The wound on my hand vanishes in the same eerie way my brain keeps trying to deny the reality of what just happened. And yet, despite everything, what really keeps making my stomach tighten is how fucking hot and bothered I feel. The way the few drops of blood he drew from me made my skin flush and my body react. Like it craved more. Like I couldn't get enough of it. Of him. The image of his fangs sinking into my wrist is burned into my mind, overlaid with the all-consuming heat in my chest. I wasn't prepared for the way my body felt in that moment, as if every nerve was suddenly alive with a hunger I didn't understand. I look away from my hand and try to focus on something else. Anything else. My gaze drifts to Mike, who has been silently watching me from across the room where he stands next to Griffin, his posture relaxed but alert, as if he's used to this brand of chaos. I clear my throat, trying to sound more like myself, like the Harley who can make jokes, throw shade, and keep it all together, even if right now the only thing keeping me from completely falling apart is the thin sliver of strength I'm clinging to. Mike, I start, my voice coming out quieter than I want it to. Can I trust him? What I really mean is, can I trust this? I need something solid to hold on to, even if it's just one tether in a sea of uncertainty. Mike doesn't even hesitate. He doesn't look away, and he doesn't pause to second-guess his answer. He just meets my gaze head-on, steady and sure. And when he speaks, his words are laced with the kind of gravity that makes my chest tighten. If Thane says he'll keep you safe, he would burn the world down before letting you get hurt. His voice drops lower, almost like he's letting something far more profound than friendship slip through. Even if it should be by his own hand. His words hit me like a wave, sweeping over the last of the defenses I've built up, and my heart stutters in my chest that feels tight, like it's been handed too much air and too much information, and I can't find a way to process it all. Thane would do that for me? I whisper with my eyes still locked onto his, even though I know the answer already. Mike just nods, and even though his face is unreadable, his eyes tell me everything he's not able to put into words. Yeah, Mike finally says, his voice soft yet resounding. Thane would burn down every bridge, every kingdom, and every last bit of himself to keep you from getting hurt. I look down at my hands again as I fold, unfold, and refold them in my lap like they can somehow give me the answers I don't have. I didn't ask for any of this. I didn't ask for a vampire to step into my life and show me a world I don't understand, a world I'm still trying to ignore, futilely hoping it'll just disappear like a bad dream. But it doesn't, and it won't. It's real, and Thane's real, and the bond we have, whatever the hell it is real. And then I finally look at Thane, where he's still kneeling in front of me, so still and quiet it feels like he's holding his breath as he waits for me to say something, to make a decision. But what am I supposed to do with this? I want to scream. I want to throw my hands up in the air and demand that it all makes sense. But all I can do is sit here, breathe shallowly, and try to piece myself back together. Thane's eyes are locked on mine, and for a moment I swear I can see everything in them. All the years, the pain, and the power he holds. And the hunger. God, the hunger in his gaze is enough to make my heart skip another beat. But it's not just hunger for blood. No, it's something more profound. Something dangerous. I'm so lost in his electric blue gaze that I almost forget to breathe. Almost. All I do know is that I can't let him drag me into his world without knowing everything. I need answers. Real ones. And I need to know what I'm walking into and what the hell I'll be dealing with. So I take a deep breath and let it out slowly, the words finally spilling out. I need time to think, I say, my voice almost shaking as I pull my gaze away from him and back to Mike and then Griffin. The words don't feel like enough, they never do, but they're all I can give him right now. I stand slowly, feeling the weight of the room pressing in on me. I take one last look at Thane before I walk to the front door and pull it open as a silent decree of what I want. But as I stand there, my hand on the doorknob, waiting for the 3 men in my living room to leave, I realize that for the first time in forever, I feel completely and utterly lost. And it's fucking terrifying. I stand at the front door, my hand still gripping the knob like it's the only thing holding me upright right now. The seconds stretch out before me, each one heavy and impossibly long. The air around me feels thick, like it's pressing in on me from all sides, suffocating me with the weight of the reality I've just been thrust into. Mike passes me first. He doesn't say anything at first, but his eyes are sharp with understanding, and there's an almost imperceptible shift in his posture as he walks by. His presence has, in a short period of time, become a constant in my life, but tonight, there's something different about him, something protective. "Harley," he says quietly when he gets to the threshold, "take your time. You don't have to have all the answers right now." I don't respond at first, just nodding slowly. His words are steady and solid, and they land in my chest like a calming balm. And for a brief moment, I don't feel like I'm drowning in the chaos of my own thoughts. It's like Mike is anchoring me with those words, reminding me that I don't have to fix this. Not yet. I'm not sure if I can, but for now, that's enough. He pats my shoulder briefly as he turns to walk out. It's a small gesture, but it means the world to me. He doesn't need to say anything more, because he just knows. Next, it's Griffin. I can already feel the familiar presence of his humor approaching me where I'm standing in my entryway. He walks past me, taking a moment to look me over with a little smirk on his lips. Even in moments like these, he somehow knows exactly how to crack through the tension. "This whole thing's turning into a full-on vampire drama, huh?" he says with that characteristic sarcasm in his voice, his eyes twinkling despite the gravity of the situation. "And you, my dear, are the lead actress. Quite the role you've been handed." I blink, and before I know it, a laugh bursts out of me, unbidden. It's small and almost sad, but it's real. Griffin always knows how to make me laugh when I don't think I can anymore. He's a master at turning the heaviest moments into something I can breathe through, even if it's just for a second. He winks at me before his grin softens into something more serious. "You'll figure it out," he says quietly, as though it's the most obvious thing in the world. And somehow with him, it feels like it might be. But just remember, you're not alone in this. And then he's gone, strolling towards the SUV in my driveway. As I watch him walk away, my throat tightens, but I instinctively know it's true. With Mike and Griffin in my corner, I'm not alone. I never have been, and I'm still not. But this is something different. This pull I feel toward Thane, I can't explain it, I can't make sense of it, but it's there, pressing in on me harder than the silence in the room. I know it's real, but the weight of it all, it's too much. And then there's Thane. I feel him before I even see him. He's standing in the doorway between the entryway and the living room, just a few feet away. The tension around us thickens, every inch of the space between us charged with something too powerful to ignore. I can feel his gaze on me, heavy and full of questions, and even desperation. I know what he wants. I can feel it in every inch of his body as he stands there, his eyes dark with that hunger that isn't just for blood. He takes a step forward, and I stop him with my words before he can beg me to give him a chance. The uneasiness in his eyes mirrors what I'm feeling, this gnawing uncertainty, this need to understand why. But I can't. Not yet. I need time, Thane, I say again, my voice unsteady but firm, and I'm not sure how long that will take. The ride to my high-rise is silent, save for the hum of the engine and the occasional shift of Mike's hands on the steering wheel. The weight of the moment presses down on me, and I feel it in the way my muscles tighten with every breath. Griffin, though, is unusually quiet for once. He's not saying anything. Not that I blame him. We're both consumed by the same thoughts, by the same realization that Harley has permanently changed everything. After a few beats, he suddenly, without looking at me, asks, "So, are you just going to sit back and wait?" I turn my head to glance at him, my voice low and strained. "I don't know, Griffin. She asked for space, and I can't just barge in. I can't make her do this on my terms. If I push too hard, I'll just make it worse." At my words, Griffin tilts his head my way, his eyes narrowing, but his face remains impassive. "You're really going to do this again, huh? After everything? Hold back, wait around until she says she's ready?" I let out a frustrated sigh, rubbing my temples. I know exactly what he's getting at. I'm not waiting. I'm respecting her request. She needs space, and I'm going to give it to her. She's been through more than enough. Griffin leans forward slightly, his voice steady but sharp. "And what exactly do you think space will do for her, Thane? You gave her space last week, and look how that turned out. You almost lost her." His words hit me like a bucket of ice water. I feel my heart skip a beat and my pulse quickens, but I don't look away. I can't avoid it anymore. Griffin is right. I pushed her away when I thought I was doing the right thing, and now it's not just about me and her. It's about whether she'll even let me back in at all. I open my mouth to defend myself, but Griffin doesn't give me a chance. "You're doing this all wrong," he says, his tone softer but no less firm. "Every time you pull away like this, every time you act like you don't want her, you make her feel like she's invisible. And I know you don't mean to, but that's what happens, and that's how you'll lose her completely." I close my eyes for a second, letting the weight of his words settle over me. His voice is calm, but there's a hardness in it that matches the ache in my chest. I know it's coming from a place of truth, having witnessed me make the same mistakes over and over again. "I'm not trying to lose her," I say, my voice quieter now. I don't want to break her. I don't want to force her into something she's not ready for. What if I hurt her? What if I push too hard? Griffin chuckles, but there's no amusement in it, just exhaustion. "You're not going to break her, Thane. That woman is way stronger than most of us give her credit for, even if she sometimes forgets it herself. But you sure as hell will break yourself if you don't stop running, if you keep holding back because you're afraid of what you feel. You're afraid to let her see everything. I get that. But that's the only way this works. You have to be all in. No more half measures." At that, I turn to look out my window, staring into the night. The city blurs past us, a haze of lights and movement, but I can't seem to move. I can't seem to stop thinking about Harley, the way she looked at me when I bit her, the confusion, the fear, and beneath all of that, the curiosity, the pull. She feels it too. I know she does, even if she doesn't know what it all means just yet. But am I ready for what that means? Am I ready to give her everything? Griffin's voice breaks through my thoughts again, more direct now. "You can't hide behind your fear anymore, Thane. You have to stop pretending that you don't want her, that you don't need her. Because if you keep doing this, if you keep repressing your feelings, you'll lose her. And you'll be alone. Again. And this time it'll hurt way more." I clench my fists, my nails digging into my palms as his words hit home. I'm not ready to be alone again. I'm not prepared to lose her. Not when I've already come this far. I owe her more than that. You think I don't know that? I mutter. For the first time in my God-forsaken life, I'm fucking scared, Griffin. I'm scared that if I push too hard, I'll ruin it, that she'll pull away completely, that she'll hate me for pushing her into something she's not ready for. Griffin turns his head to look at me, and for the first time tonight, I see a flicker of understanding in his eyes. He leans back against the seat, his voice softer this time, though still carrying the weight of everything we've been through. I get it, I do, but you can't let fear make the decisions for you. It never works out that way. And I know you're terrified of screwing this up. But here's the thing, Thane. You're already screwing it up by not being honest with her, by not showing her that you care, by pretending you're not in this for the long haul. I let out a long breath, letting his words sink in. He's right. I've been letting fear control me, letting it control my decisions. But I can't keep doing that. I can't keep pushing her away out of fear of losing her. Then what the hell am I supposed to do? I ask, my voice strained. How do I fix this? How do I make it right? Griffin gives me a wry smile, the same sharp grin that's always there, but now it feels like he's trying to lighten the mood just a bit. Start by not running, Thane. Start by showing her that you're not going anywhere. Show her that you're in this, and maybe, just maybe, you won't lose her. We drive in silence for a few moments after that, and I let his words settle into me like a truth I've been avoiding. Maybe this is the moment. Perhaps I've been running too long and hiding behind my own fears. When the car pulls into the parking garage below my building, I don't wait for Mike to open my door, and I step out of the car, my feet heavy against the concrete floor. My penthouse is waiting for me, but so is Harley. The weight of that knowledge is crushing, but I know one thing for sure. I'm done hiding. As I enter my penthouse, the silence is deafening. The world outside feels far away, and for the first time, I let my thoughts settle wholly on one thing, one person, Harley. I've been running this whole week, telling myself that I wasn't worthy of her, that I didn't deserve to feel this way. But the truth is, I can't live like this anymore. She's mine, and it's time I showed her exactly what that means. I wake with a start, the remnants of last night's chaotic bullshittery still swirling around in my head like a storm that won't quit. My mind feels heavy, and if I'm being honest, my body feels like I got hit by a Mack truck, repeatedly. But it's Sunday, and despite everything, I refuse to let my mood spiral. Not today, Satan. I turn over in bed, groaning as I feel the familiar discomfort of what feels akin to a hangover, except I didn't even drink much last night. Just too many emotions, apparently. So much emotional turmoil, really, that it's like I woke up with a permanent frown on my face. But hey, I'll be fine. I've survived worse. So I sit up, stretching out my sore limbs, and roll my neck with a series of pops that make me feel like I'm 10 years older. It's almost as if my body has been through some ancient battle. With a fortifying breath, I decide that today is going to be about me and getting my mental health back to where I'm a woman who adults every now and then, with no broody vampires in sight. My signature sass is already creeping back in, and I can't help but smile, feeling the familiar sarcasm bubble up. The only thing I need to focus on today is myself, a little peace, and maybe a decent cup of coffee. Preferably two. I shuffle down to the kitchen, where I know I'll find the sustenance I need to face this day. I'm not a morning person, but coffee has the ability to turn me into a semi-functional human. I fix myself a cup, slurping it down in record time. Damn, I could have used a more potent brew, but it'll do for now. A second cup later, and I'm getting dressed. Maybe it's the sunshine outside. Maybe it's just the realization that I've been so caught up in the drama of the past week that I've forgotten what it's like to have a normal day. I toss on something cute. Nothing too fancy, but enough to make me feel like I'm putting some effort in for a change. A comfy mint green sweater, curve-hugging jeans, and ankle boots. A simple outfit for a trip to the farmer's market. I don't know if I'll buy anything, but it'll be a change of scenery. And right now, that's exactly what I need. The sun is shining, and it feels like a small victory, even if it's the kind of victory that doesn't actually fix the shit show inside my head. But whatever. I'm not thinking about last night. I'm not thinking about him. I won't let myself. Not right now, anyway. Not when my mind keeps trying to pull me into that whirlwind. No, today is Harley Day, not Vampire Drama Day. I check my phone one last time for any important messages, throw my sling bag over my shoulder, and grab my keys. The moment my hand touches the doorknob, I hear the faintest of knocks. Weird. I freeze, my hand still clutching the doorknob. Who's knocking at my door on a Sunday morning? Probably another person wanting to sell me something useless or tell me about some local cause. Great. I roll my eyes, debating whether I should ignore it. But curiosity gets the best of me, and I swing open the door without thinking too much about it. And standing in the doorway, looking more like he's prepared to wage war than have a civil conversation, is Thane. His signature black-on-black suit is gone, replaced with something more casual, dark jeans, a black golf tee, and a leather jacket, but he still looks effortlessly intimidating. Before I can open my mouth and ask him what the hell he's doing here, he takes the 2 steps up onto my landing and comes to a standstill on the other side of my threshold with no warning or hesitation. "Excuse me," I say, trying to regain some sense of control over my space, my life, my everything. "What are you doing here, Thane?" He doesn't answer immediately. Instead, he looks at me with an intensity that feels like it's going to burn a hole straight through me. The heat between us is tangible, and I swear I can feel the air between us shift. "I know you asked for space," he says, his voice low, commanding, so completely him as he takes half a step forward. "And I'll wait however long you need, Harley. But give me today, one day to show you what it means to be mine. After that, I'll leave you alone for however long you need." I skirt past Thane, heading straight for the still open front door. I feel him follow, his heavy footsteps filling the space behind me. Part of me wants to yell at him to give me some space, but then again, I did sort of ask for this. He's not just going to disappear after one request. I stop on the landing on the outside of the door, pausing just long enough to look back at him. He has come to a stop on the inside just behind the threshold, looking entirely too serious for a Sunday morning. "You coming?" I ask, raising an eyebrow at him. His gaze locks with mine, and he takes a long beat before answering, his eyes narrowing slightly in what might be annoyance or perhaps just confusion. Either way, it only makes my wicked smile broaden. "Where to?" he asks, clearly perplexed. "Sunday morning farmer's market," I announce, unable to resist watching his face. Just as I suspected it would be, the look on his face is priceless. The shock, the disapproval, the sheer bafflement. He's never been to something so mundane and plebeian. I can practically see his brain short-circuiting as he tries to process my words. I can't help but laugh, my chest swelling with satisfaction at how easily I've thrown him off his game. "Farmer's market?" His voice cracks slightly as if he's not sure whether he should laugh, cry, or just walk away now already. I throw him a sideways glance as he passes by me on his way down to the walkway. "Never been? Or is this beneath the mighty Thane Draven?" He takes a step back towards me, narrowing his eyes. "This is your idea of a good time? Well, you're the one who said he wants to follow me around today," I quip as I shrug, relishing in the discomfort that's etched into every line of his handsome face. "Or are you throwing in the towel already?" At that, I turn on my heel and lock the door behind me before, with a devilish grin, I take the 2 steps down and glide past him where he's still rooted to the spot. His gaze flickers with something unreadable, but he doesn't back down. Instead, he places a hand on my lower back as he falls in step with me, guiding me toward his SUV with an ease that makes me wonder how accustomed he is to this, to leading people, to getting his way. "Not yet," he mutters under his breath, the promise in his words making me wish I wasn't so keen on making him squirm. We reach the SUV, and Mike's already waiting behind the wheel, his expression mild but with a hint of knowing in his eyes. "Good morning, Mike." I greet him with a bright smile as I slide into the back seat, too cheerful for my own good. "We're going to the farmer's market on the other side of town, please." Mike raises an eyebrow at me in the rearview mirror, clearly surprised at my words. "You're taking Thane there?" His tone is as dry as ever, but I catch the faintest hint of a smirk. He knows Thane's not exactly the type to frequent markets, where produce and handmade soap are the main attractions. Guess so. I shrug as I watch Thane slide in behind me with a huff of indignation. Mike pulls out of the driveway once Thane closes the door behind him, and I settle into the buttery soft seat, the motion of the car making everything feel just a little less intense. I glance over at Thane, noticing his stiff posture. He's really not happy about this. It's almost too easy to get under his skin. "Hey, Mike," I say, grinning wickedly. "I thought vampires exploded in sunlight? Is that a thing? Or was that just a rumor?" Mike chuckles, clearly enjoying this. "You're not going to make us explode, don't worry, we're safe." I raise an eyebrow. "How much garlic can you guys use in your food before you start withering away?" Asking for a friend. Thane doesn't even blink. But I catch the slight twitch of his lips as he keeps his gaze fixed out his side window. He's trying not to react, but it's clear he's failing miserably at being the stoic, terrifying vampire he probably wants to be right now. "Garlic, huh?" Mike says, trying to suppress a laugh. "You're right about one thing. It's not exactly our favorite flavor." I snicker. "What's next? Crosses and holy water? Should I get some just in case?" I'm thoroughly enjoying this. The way Thane holds himself together, despite my teasing, makes it that much more entertaining. And even though he doesn't let anything show on his face, I swear I can see the faintest movement in his lips every time I throw out one of my ridiculous questions. I lean back into the seat, watching him as he maintains his brooding posture. I can't help but enjoy this side of him, even if he won't admit it. He's so out of his element, and for once I have the upper hand. I'm really starting to think this vampire thing was just a marketing gimmick, I tease, glancing over at Thane. Thane looks at me then, his expression unreadable. "Keep it up, Harley. You're playing a dangerous game." "Oh, I'm sure," I reply with a playful shrug, "but I'm pretty sure I've got this one in the bag." As the SUV rumbles towards the market, I can't help but think that today might not be so bad after all, especially if I can keep this ridiculousness going. The rest of the ride is filled with more questions and easy banter, the tension between Thane and me starting to dissolve, even if only a little. I don't know what to expect from the rest of the day, but if this is how it's going to be, vampires, farmers markets, and all, I can definitely handle it. The world outside the SUV windows blurs into a streaked canvas of cityscape as Mike drives with his usual unbothered air. Harley sits beside me in the back, her posture relaxed, leaning against the plush leather seats like the events of last night didn't happen. Her presence is so unassuming, so natural. It almost makes me question everything I've ever known about myself. The pull between us is stronger than ever, that invisible thread that tugs at my chest, my mind, and every part of me that's still human. But it's not just the bond, it's her. Every word that leaves her lips is like a spark, igniting something deep inside of me. But when she speaks to Mike, the chemistry between them, the ease with which she laughs, it makes me feel like an outsider in my own life, like I'm waiting to belong, and I'm not sure I even know how to get there. I glance at her for the umpteenth time, watching her chat with Mike in the front seat. Her voice rings with that signature sarcasm of hers, teasing Mike in that way she does, so effortlessly. And I can't help but feel a twinge of jealousy, not just for the closeness they share, but because I know that isn't something I can force. She can't just flip a switch and feel the same way about me. Not yet, at least. I shift in my seat again, trying to keep my composure. If I'm being honest, I'm feeling a little ridiculous. We're driving to a farmer's market, a bloody farmer's market. Who even am I right now? Thane Draven, a centuries-old vampire who's seen more of the world than I care to remember, and yet here I am, squirming in the back of an SUV, about to step into some quaint little market where I'll probably stick out like a sore thumb. What do you think, Thane? Have you ever been to one of these? You seem like the type who'd be all about fresh tomatoes. Harley's voice pulls me out of my thoughts. Her tone is teasing, but her eyes are on the road, distant and nonchalant, as if she doesn't even realize the effect her words have on me. I glance at her, struggling to maintain a neutral expression as I answer. Tomatoes, huh? Maybe, but I am more of an imported exotic fruit kind of guy. She lets out a little snort of laughter, her lips curling up into that mischievous smile that makes it impossible for me to look away. Yeah, you definitely seem like the type who'd turn his nose up at locally grown produce, she teases, her voice playful. Go ahead, throw on your fancy pants, make sure no dirt touches you. The comment makes my lips twitch. Damn it. She's not wrong, and yet I can't help but feel an irrational urge to prove her wrong. But I'm not about to make this any more difficult than it already is, not when the real battle is happening inside of me. I shift my gaze to Mike. He's calm, focused on the road ahead, but I can see the knowing smirk that's tugging at the corner of his lips. He's been around me long enough to know how this dynamic plays out, but I'm not the type to give in easily, especially not to her. Not yet, anyway. You know, Thane. Harley's voice breaks through again, this time with an edge of curiosity. I've always heard vampires can't cross running water. Should I be worried if I take you near a fountain anytime soon? I blink, caught off guard. I can feel a laugh creeping up, but I push it down, forcing my face into something resembling a stoic expression. Well, you can certainly try, I say flatly. But I've never found a fountain that could stop me yet. You'd have to try something a lot more creative to get rid of me. Mike chuckles under his breath from the front seat. It's a low sound, and I'm sure he's enjoying watching me squirm. But Harley? She's relentless. Oh, really? She raises an eyebrow, clearly enjoying herself. Also, do you have to avoid mirrors, or are you just particularly good at selfies when you have to make sure your outfit is on point? The question catches me off guard, but I keep my expression neutral, despite the humor bubbling up inside me, as I deadpan, I can't say I'm the greatest fan of mirrors, but I manage. Selfies, on the other hand, are a bit of a struggle. I can feel her gaze on me, her curiosity piqued, but there's no amusement in her eyes now. Instead, I catch that spark of something deeper. It's almost like she's trying to figure me out, to piece me together like a puzzle that doesn't quite fit. After a few seconds, though, she gives a slight shrug and looks out the window. I'm just curious. I always thought vampires were all thirsty for blood and scary, but you're not exactly what I expected. I lean back, loosely folding my arms across my chest, struggling with the weight of her words. What did she expect? What does she want from me? We ride in silence for a few moments, but Harley's chatter has a subtle way of disarming me. I want to hold on to my mystery, my secrets, but with every question she asks, it feels like I'm unraveling in front of her, and part of me wants her to see me, every ugly, powerful, ruthless piece of me. When Mike turns a final corner, and Harley's attention shifts to something else beyond the windshield, the tension in the car eases slightly. I glance at her again, and this time her smile has a genuine warmth to it. It's a moment of normalcy, of connection, even if it's fleeting. And in that moment, I'm reminded of just how much I need this, need her. I don't know how much longer I can keep up the distance between us. I'm not sure what I'm doing anymore, but I'm starting to understand that it might not even matter. Because no matter what, I'm already in far too deep with her to pull away now. The sun beats down on the bustling farmer's market, casting a warm glow over everything. Multitudes of flowers in vibrant colors, the scent of various fresh produce, and the hum of 100 conversations mingling in the air. The smell of fresh earth and growing things fills my senses. A small reprieve from the chaotic whirlpool of thoughts that has been plaguing me. I've spent the better part of the last 24 hours trying to make sense of his bite, this inexplicable pull between us, and the way my body reacts to Thane on a visceral level. And yet nothing still makes any sense. I glance at him from the corner of my eye, and the reality of his presence hits me again. He's walking beside me, close enough that I can feel the heat of his body and the weight of his attention. And even though he doesn't speak much, and his focus is on the market around us, I can feel his gaze on me every so often. His silence is a constant reminder of the tension between us, unspoken but undeniably there. I try to ground myself in the mundane, focusing on the rows of fresh flowers in front of me at the stall I'm standing at, their petals soft and bright. The market should be a place of normalcy, but there's no escaping the pull of Thane Draven at my side. Every brush of his sleeve against mine, and every step we take side by side makes me hyper aware of how much I want to push him away while wanting him close at the same time. For a moment, I look away and focus on the honey stall 2 spots up ahead. Thane, as usual, is calm and collected beside me, his eyes scanning the scene, but I can't ignore the way my heartbeat quickens whenever he's close. It's like my body has betrayed me, responding to him in ways I can't control. The truth, his fangs sinking into my wrist, the undeniable pull of whatever this is between us, it all flashes through my mind in disjointed fragments. I hate it. I hate how it's stirring something inside me that I don't want to feel. But I can't ignore the truth either, not when my body practically aches for him. It's like a constant tug at the back of my mind, and the more I try to push it away, the stronger it becomes. The heat between us is palpable, but I'm trying so damn hard to keep a wall up between us. I won't let him get close. Not again. Not yet. Not until I have a clearer understanding of who he is, and what this connection between us means. I stop in front of another stall, pretending to be interested in the assortment of colorful jars of honey stacked in neat rows. Thane doesn't speak, but I feel his presence shift to just behind my right shoulder. I instinctively glance at him, but I don't expect what happens next. He reaches out, and with a single finger, he brushes against my cheek in a small, almost intimate motion that sends a shiver down my spine. He then tucks a stray lock of hair behind my ear, and even though the action is simple and natural, it feels far too personal for why I'm trying to keep him at arm's length. I look up at him, expecting a smirk or a soft chuckle, but his face is impassive and unreadable. Still, the moment between us feels charged, and I can't ignore how it lingers. We move to the next stall, and Thane places his hand lightly at the small of my back as we weave through the crowd. And the gesture feels possessive, like he's claiming me in a way I'm not prepared for. The move also causes my heart to hammer in my chest, but I refuse to let myself acknowledge the pull of his slight touch. I can't stop myself from noticing how his hand fits at the curve of my back, though, and how his fingers seem to mold against the delicate arch of my spine. I'm so painfully aware of every inch of him near me and every breath he takes that it's maddening. I want to push him away. I want to scream at him to stop, but a part of me is greedy for it and greedy for the warmth that seeps into my bones from his touch. I want to feel safe, to let him in, but I can't. Not yet. Not while I'm still untangling the mess in my head. The farmer's market hums with life around us, bright, sunlit, and full of people leisurely going about their Sunday. Children run past us with sticky fingers and half-eaten popsicles, laughing as their parents scold them gently for running too far ahead. The air smells like fresh herbs, the sweetness of just-baked goods, and the unmistakable tang of fried food wafting from the food stalls we're approaching. There's a heavy hum of chatter, the murmur of happy voices mixing with the sizzle of food on grills. It's a completely normal day, but as I walk alongside Thane, I feel like everything about this situation is so far from normal that it's almost laughable. I glance sideways at him, watching his sharp features take in the chaos of the market. His expression is guarded, but I can tell he's intrigued by it all, even if he's trying his damnedest to remain stoic. He stands out like a sore thumb in the crowd, a picture of dark elegance among the mess of colorful tents and the bright faces of everyday people. I can't help but smile at the absurdity of the situation. Thane Draven, a vampire who's probably never even fried an egg, is about to have his mind blown by the simple joy of street food. Welcome to my world, Batboy. I nudge him with my elbow, drawing his attention. Okay, Mr. Draven, I say with a grin, my voice teasing as I wave my hand in the general direction of all the food trucks and carts. Let your education begin. Thane raises an eyebrow, clearly not sure what he's in for, but he's following me nonetheless, and I'm more than happy to drag him through this experience, kicking and screaming if I have to. The sun feels warm on my face, and for once, I don't mind it. This simple chaos, the noise, the people, it's everything I love about this town. And I want to show him it all, if only to shake him out of that polished, immovable shell he seems to hide behind. I make my first stop at a street food cart selling deep-fried mozzarella sticks, piled high and crispy, with marinara sauce on the side. The smell is intoxicating, a sharp, savory note that hits me in the stomach. I grab a basket and shove a few bills into the vendor's hand before Thane can even blink. His mouth opens slightly, as if he's about to say something, but I'm already moving to the next stall. "Don't worry, I've got it," I tell him, barely containing my amusement as his face remains unreadable, even when I load up on a second order of curly fries at the following stall. "Really? This is your idea of a meal?" he asks, his tone dripping with incredulity, though I see the faintest flicker of curiosity in his eyes. "You think that's bad?" I laugh to myself. "Just wait. We've got churros, tornado potatoes, and a few of those gourmet hot dogs on the way." My voice has an almost mischievous edge as I scan the stalls ahead. The fact that he's trying to make sense of it all only makes me want to dive deeper into this ridiculousness. I practically dance with excitement as I buy a pretzel from a vendor down the lane, then pick up a small bag of kettle corn just to make sure we're fully stocked. By the time I make it to a stand selling corn dogs, Thane's standing with his arms loaded with takeaway containers, his jaw working slightly as if he's trying to wrap his mind around what's happening. The sheer quantity of food I've collected must be making him rethink every meal he's ever had. This is far from his normal luxury dining experience. I'm pretty sure he hasn't had a single real meal since he became a vampire that a Michelin-star chef didn't prepare. The thought of him getting his first taste of greasy food from a street cart makes me grin like a cat that got into the cream carton. As we shuffle along the market, bags and containers weighing heavily in our arms, a vendor at a nearby booth catches sight of our struggle and offers me an empty cardboard beer box to help us out. It's slightly battered but sturdy enough to hold everything. I accept it from the guy with a friendly smile, and without missing a beat, toss more snacks inside. The box is already filled to the brim with everything, spanning from my first buy of mozzarella sticks to corn dogs, the promised gourmet hot dogs, flaky pastries, a few random dips, and 2 cups of homemade lemonade. I take a moment to catch my breath and smooth my sweater down, feeling a little like I've just made the best bad decision in the world. As I finish up my transaction at a stall that sells ginormous chocolate chip cookies, I practically skip to the next stall, eager to pile on even more unhealthy goodness. I can't help it. There's something so blissfully indulgent about it all. "What now?" Thane asks, his voice sounding almost resigned to the madness unfolding around him. He carries our beer box of goodies like it's precious treasure, his stoic expression still firmly in place, but I catch a glimmer of amusement in his eyes. "This is turning into quite the event, don't you think?" I laugh, unable to resist. "What? Am I boring you?" I ask with a wicked grin, and Thane just shakes his head at me. The way he watches me like he's both impressed and perplexed is giving me a thrill I can't quite explain. "Not boring, just surprising," he mutters, and I roll my eyes playfully. "Well, brace yourself," I say, voice lilting with mock seriousness. "You're about to get the full experience." He lifts an eyebrow at that, as if challenging me to keep surprising him. Challenge accepted. As we walk along, dodging people and weaving between market stalls, I can't help but feel lighter than I have in days. I glance at Thane, who seems increasingly out of place, but also oddly intrigued by the chaos. He might not be eating any of the food yet, but I can see his curiosity getting the better of him. "Next stop," I announce as we get close to another stall, a good old-fashioned churro stand. His eyes narrow, and I can see the skepticism in his expression as he glances from the churro stand to me. "You're serious, aren't you?" "Dead serious," I confirm with a smile, feeling my heart beat faster at the idea of getting him to try it. After buying way too many churros, we continue our walk through the vibrant farmers market, the laughter of families and the buzz of the crowd surrounding us as we both dive into this absurdly normal day. Yet with every touch, every exchange, the intensity between us simmers just below the surface. I can't help but wonder, though, where this will lead, and what will happen when I finally stop fighting whatever this is. When we eventually make it to the beer tent after a few more purchases, I'm practically vibrating with anticipation at seeing his reaction when he tastes the food. The picnic tables are scattered around haphazardly, and we find one tucked away in a quieter corner. We sit side by side but not touching, with the food spread out before us like a small feast. So, I say, teasing him as I pick up a crispy mozzarella stick and wave it at him like it's some kind of weapon. First bite of street food. You ready? He eyes the oily, stringy, cheesy bite like it might bite him back. I'm still not sure how I ended up here, he mutters, watching me devour it with barely any effort. He's so serious about it, which only makes me want to tease him even more. You're here because I decided to educate you on culinary experiences, I remind him, savoring every bite of my snack. You can't possibly say no. It's practically a life experience. Thane stares at a hot dog right in front of him, his lips pressed into a thin line. I can tell he's reluctant, but there's something in his eyes that says he's intrigued. This is food that's meant to be eaten on the go. Like this? He asks skeptically. I shrug. Yep, quick, messy, but totally worth it. With a sigh, he picks up the hot dog and after a long pause takes a small bite. His face is unrateable, but I can see the way his jaw moves, chewing the unfamiliar bite. I'm waiting for him to gag or at least grimace, but instead he just swallows, his lips still pressed into that straight line. Not bad, he mutters, sounding surprised. I laugh, feeling a tiny victory in that. I knew you'd come around, I say smugly as I pick up a piece of churro and dangle it in front of him, my smile wide and teasing. Here's the real test, I say, wiggling it slightly. If you can handle this, I might just consider you a true convert to market food. I hold it a little closer to his mouth, enjoying the way his eyes flicker with amusement and maybe something else. He narrows his eyes playfully, his lips curling into a slight grin. Is that so? Are you daring me to eat this sugary mess? He leans in, his gaze never leaving mine as he wraps his fingers around the wrist of the hand that's holding the churro with a little too much intention, the moment lingering between us for just a second too long. His voice drops low, almost teasing as he adds, Guess I'll have to show you I'm not as picky an eater as you think. I watch him closely as he bites into the churro, his eyes never leaving mine. There's something deliberate in the way he moves, slow and controlled, and I feel the heat of his gaze settle on me like a weight. When his lips brush against my fingertips to get to the last bite, it's just the slightest of touches, but it sends a jolt through me. My breath catches, and I can't help but notice how the simple act of him tasting this sweet, messy food feels so intimate. His eyes flicker with amusement, but there's an undercurrent of something else there too. Something that makes my heart race, and I can't quite place it. As I suddenly pull my hand from his grasp, I shake my head quickly, attempting to dispel the thoughts swirling in my mind and physically shake off the heat that's creeping up my neck. Clearing my throat, I focus on a basket of bacon-loaded fries to stop the way my pulse quickens every time he looks at me like that. It's ridiculous. I can't let myself get distracted by something so simple, by something that feels so charged. I catch the smug glint in his eyes as he watches me, clearly enjoying my reaction a little too much. His lips curl up at the corners, and I can practically feel the teasing in the air. Damn it, he knows. He knows what he's doing to me,